I mean, he just.
Do that. Chris, to the right, that one.
Bill.
Okay, it's recording now.
And now it says choose. What is it? It says sign in. Now it's choose an account to enter and so on.
That's YouTube. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same sign.
It's the same sign as this thing.
So do I click on Walsh County now?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, where they're login.
Do what?
Usually I want it to autofill.
Next weekend. Yeah. Looking for a motion to delay it.
I tell you what, that little ditch going around Park Fargo now, that's next one, when you drive into town and on the west side of the road, there was water in there about 3 feet yesterday.
Karen, can you still hear us?
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, it's coming. It's just a matter of how fast.
If you're recording.
Who's recording?
Well, we wanted to record, do we not?
Yeah, but this is like delayed, isn't it?
Sounds like it.
The worst thing you want to do is hear me twice.
It'll be shut up.
Oh, we don't want to do live.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I just have my video off.
I figured with you, what I
Go
do.
figure, right? We'll bring it.
I think she wants her. But here we have to.
Or if we loop in back to their iPad, I suppose that's what it is. I know it's the same. Yeah, I think it's just a control down.
Which one makes any difference?
What's on good now? Put the music here for you to fall asleep.
There were 2 Zoom screens up, so we only went to one. Elevator music, so we turned that off.
I was thinking more homes.
Well, elevator is better. Some from the music.
Like it's fake Danny.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Christie?
I'd like to add, I think we need to discuss what we're going to do, possibly an interim auditor position or something.
Ernie?
Just talking some bills. I got people calling me today, so just
House bills, Senate bills,
little each.
legislative bills.
Yep.
Amy?
Discuss rehiring extension agent.
Karen, do you have any additions?
Nope,
I don't have any either. Everybody reviewed the minutes, the monthly bills, any additions or corrections to that? The gaming permit for Knights of Columbus.
I'll make
Need a
a move to accept the consent agenda, including the gaming permit.
The bills and the minutes also,
Pardon?
bills and the minutes also.
Yeah, the consent agenda.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion carried. Alan Anderson.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
I know.
So Chrissy and I have been talking a little bit here just about resolutions that counties have been signing in favor of keeping the NDPERS pension plan open, which ties to two different bills that are in the legislature. Senate Bill 2239, which would keep it open, House Bill 1040, which would close it. The general feeling, I know among my staff, others, other counties which have also signed these, Grand Forks, Lemoore, Dunn, Cavalier, Benson, is that this could be really detrimental to recruiting efforts, retention efforts, closing the plan for new employees. I believe the proposal has been January 1st, 2025. There's also a lot of concern about, how will the pension plans be funded in the future, even if it is closed, the cost. There's been tons of hearings and debates on this as well. So I guess in our conversations, just seeing if there's any willingness to put forth a resolution on behalf of Walsh County to keep the pension open.
That's
Just
the resolution.
Well, you all have a copy on your computers as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Well, it's a great recruitment tool for us, isn't it? And I just talked to a lot of people that, through Jason with the highway department and at the state legislature. And everybody's afraid of losing that because it's gonna hurt us. And that's the main issue I'm getting back from everybody. I think it's that's gonna cost a lot of money to fund it, but it's gonna cost a lot of money to do something else. And we've got a great program, and we know when we talk about it, that our benefits and everything are a prime package with their health and everything else, and I hate to lose it. I'm all in favor of sending a resolution.
It's a good point to, just in regards to, if I could speak from the world of public health and healthcare, it's no secret that our primary target group is registered nurses to hire. We pay significantly less than what the private sector pays registered nurses. So the ability to offer a pension and retain people that way is big. And I know there's been a lot of discussion about the interim study that was done and all the talk about Generation Z and this kind of thing. And the only thing I can speak to on that is Joelle Schmuck, who is of Generation Z. And I've had conversations with her about the pension to try to get a feel for maybe a more local thing. And she has told me it is a major piece of why she's choosing to stay, making what she makes working for the health district. So that's just a kind of an industry specific example. I have to imagine it will be the case with, engineers, other kind of high demand fields, computer science type degrees, thinking more broadly as far as the state and that sort of thing goes. So.
Karen, do you have any input on this? Can't hear you.
Sorry, here's what I can tell you. 2239 passed the Senate 34-13. Right now, it's still in the Government Veterans Affairs Committee. It's not been kicked out for us to vote on. 10-4, which takes off the defined benefit, passed the House 77-16. Or the House, and it passed the Senate 29-18. So that's just where it's at. There's going to be a lot of discussion at a conference committee to work them together. And it's not just gonna be one bill or the other. It's gonna be amendments to one or the other. So all I can say is I'll keep you guys informed of what's going on. And you can watch the vote. I'm not sure when the vote is going to be taken on the floor of the House for 2239. Well, it's not scheduled yet because it's still in committee. It's still in GVA. So
I see that 1040, I think is scheduled to be heard tomorrow in appropriations at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Committee work or whatever, so
yes,
I kind of wondered about that, Karen, if there was gonna be conference committee work on that as well.
oh, I'm sure there will be because of how the votes are turning out.
So can I ask if they close 1040? Or if they support 1040, it says it closes the defined benefit program. So they'd go to like a 401k type program.
It would be called a defined contribution. And it's not just, oh, we're gonna do a defined contribution. Anybody who would be in PERS, there would be education on where you could possibly put that contribution. Nobody's just gonna be left out in the cold. If that's what happens, that it goes that way to defined contribution instead of the defined, defined benefit. There will be a lot of education on what to do. Defined contribution will give anybody who then leaves the state, they will take their money with them. If you're undefined, if we keep the defined benefit open, if you leave, you don't take that with you.
Right, so in my thought, why wouldn't we want to keep defined benefit? Because that helps us with retention of employees. If we go to defined contribution and they can take that money with them, doesn't that make it easier to leave the county?
No, I'm just saying that's what would happen with that, okay? So, and you guys, to me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. So here's the retention. The North Dakota PERS has the highest employee turnover in the country, with over 50% of new hires gone before year 3. That's a statistic that we were given. So there's, talk about people not staying, and we've had it in our county where people just, they go to a different job. And so then they get nothing if they leave, and then that's their they don't get their PERS.
Jason?
As somebody that left the state to come to the county, if I would have left and gone into private industry, everything I put in for the pension plan would have sat there. And you can, when you retire from anything else, you can still withdraw at that point, you just don't get the full amount.
Exactly. I'm sorry,
So-
I
so
defined, said it wrong.
So that money just sits there, that's fine, but if after 3 years, you can take it anywhere, I don't understand why we want to do that when we're promoting this
No,
as retention. That's what you just said, Karen, that you can take it after 3 years, they can take that money with you. Why would we want to make it where retention is not there to keep people inside?
I'm sorry, that's not what I meant,
I
Jason.
mean, if they left after 3 years, they're not making the commitment anyways. So that money would just be able to go into taking on to the people that are actually staying with the organizations and helping fund it.
Okay, whatever you say. I'm not arguing about this because I don't need to argue about it because there's no skin off my back. I'll do what you guys want. I'm just telling you the facts that I know as is.
All right.
Okay,
Just from a perspective, I guess I've said this before, and I'm coming in this from working in healthcare industries and multiple healthcare industries and hospitals and settings, that
that I do agree, it's a huge, something for retention in the past, but there's also a part that feels we may have to get creative, because it appears to me that the writing's on the wall that something's gonna change. So in my opinion, from a perspective of retention, there are other reasons you retain employees beyond just getting, you know, some of these benefits. Are they positive? 100%, but there are other things that some people appreciate, if that's more time off, if that's, I mean, from what I've read, the amount percentage that with a defined contribution plan that they would match is a really big amount. And when you talk about people taking it, well, you could take it to Ed Jones, you could take it to Thrive, and you could roll it into your next position. I don't think that should be the only thing that we're just like trying to hold on to people. I mean, there are other reasons that you retain good employees and to attract other employees too. So although I agree we should try, you know, to hang on to it, I also think we have to do what we have to do moving forward if the state is not going to, you know, from an amendment perspective.
But, Mr. Chairman, you know, it's still one of the tools in their toolbox, whether we lose it or not. And I look at the overall picture, and that's why I always, I mean, North Dakota PERS has been a pretty good program when you listen to everybody that's been here. And, you know, yeah, we're probably not gonna see people working here 40 years anymore. That day and age is gone. But at least some of it, and we still got people that have been here a long time, and I know they're gonna be vested in it and stuff, but to me, it's just a tool that we can use. And I hate to see it go. Yeah.
So looking for a motion to accept or deny this resolution, or?
I'll make a motion, we move forward with this resolution.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Now we'll call for the vote. Amy,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes,
Christie,
Yes.
Ernie,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carried.
I have one other item, if I could just read it real quick, it's a thank you note to the commission, from the administrative building, actually, I was at a conference, so they did this on their own, so I'm just gonna read it. Since you're Walsh County Commissioners, on behalf of the staff of the Walsh County Administrative Building, we'd like to express our sincere appreciation to the commissioners for their support during last week's spring blizzard. On Tuesday evening, we were given plenty of notice that county offices would not be open until 11 a.m. Wednesday morning, with conditions to be reassessed the following morning. Such early notification helped ensure that staff were not out late at night / early in the morning trying to dig out. And we also probably slept better. Then the following day, we were also given plenty of advance notice that offices would not open until 10 a.m. Thursday morning. This made it possible to wait out the storm on Wednesday evening and then have plenty of time in the morning to dig out. Your concern for our safety is greatly appreciated. We are fortunate to have such understanding and supportive commissioners. Thanks again.
Nice to know. Tell them thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks.
Thanks, Al.
thanks, Alan.
Jurgens.
I had an employee leave, to go, a deputy that left, to Northern Plains Railroad. He said it was better for his family. He works Monday through Friday and works days, so he left to go work for them, and I'm asking for motion to rehire that position.
We're still looking for 2 others besides.
I made a offer to a candidate in the academy. An offer that's contingent on him passing the academy class.
How many new cadets are there?
In the current class, there's 7.
And how many openings are there?
70, 80.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're gonna try doing a lot more recruiting in the academy classes moving forward, and we are working on how we can accomplish that, but most of these employees are already going in with jobs, and it is a very competitive market, so we have to do whatever we can to attract people.
Do you feel the hiring bonus or the sign-on bonus helped at all, or why did it pick Walsh County? I'm assuming other
Um,
counties are trying to
Yeah,
attract them right away too, or hire them right away.
we have a very good relationship with the director there and, there's certain people that. The person that we gave an offer to, is from the Congo, in Africa. And, he is doing very well at the academy and the director of the academy, feels that it is an ideal situation for him to be in Walsh County, so,
Probably feeling better than a big town.
correct. So we have to find that niche market and, yeah, we're gonna become a more aggressive in the academy classes moving forward, so. Got a good feeling about that.
And I know we, just on hiring stuff, I know we've went away from it and you haven't for a while, but when you hire them, could you bring them in and introduce them to us, Ron? I met one last year when I got a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
So I'd like to,
I will.
and it's nice to meet them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I will do a better job of that.
Yeah.
Is that for your benefit or his?
He already knew when I told him that afternoon, but I thanked him, I said, I just painted a couple more yellow lines, but I do, I think it's nice to meet those guys.
Yeah, it is.
There's their-
Yeah, I agree with that.
Makes him feel well.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'll make a motion to, go ahead and let Ron rehire for the position.
all right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? And we'll call for the vote, Christie,
Yes.
Ernie?
Yep.
Karen?
Yes,
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried.
The next is vehicle repair for the external water pump on our Ford Explorer. This is not the rate, this is not the rate, estimate, sorry. It'd be around $3,500. This is for a transmission. I apologize for that.
127,000 miles on this.
This is not the correct one.
No, but I mean, this one, that we
Yeah.
put the transmission
Yeah.
in, that's got that many miles on it.
Correct.
It's slated for replacement, if we can get one.
If we can get them, yes, they're due to be built in July, so. Vehicles are, just the new bid for Tahoes is up to $54,000. And it is, we're a year out on vehicles, so we're keeping them longer and, we're seeing a lot more repairs to our vehicles, so.
You said the new bid is 54?
54, for next year's vehicles.
They used to be about 35.
Yeah,
I remember getting from 20,
28,
25.
yeah.
So, I would say the estimate for that internal water pump is right around $3,500 to $4,000.
for water.
They had to tear the whole motor apart.
Yeah.
It's
Insane, I agree.
I'll make a motion, we haven't paid the bill.
yeah, not much to us.
No.
The motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote, Amy,
Yes.
Karen,
yes,
Ernie,
Yes,
Christie?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried.
That's all I have unless anybody has any questions for me.
Did a good job on the storm.
That was, yeah, I appreciate your help with that too, Danny. It was, we definitely had enough advance notice to get the notice out before and it worked rather well. I'm pleased on how that worked, so.
Does I got the phone calls where you have to press
Yeah.
that you acknowledged it. Is that something new? You
No.
didn't get anything?
I didn't get anything.
I used to and I
I
don't.
used to, but I don't anymore.
I've never, because it required me
Yeah,
to
there
get
was an
calling.
option we could sign off on that, I don't remember a year.
No, I never signed up on it.
Brett, do you have any input on that?
Did you used to get them?
Yep,
I used to get them and I don't anymore.
yeah, no, it's like I just don't get any of them anymore.
I don't get them on my cell phone, I get the.
Why you're not,
Okay.
you're,
I don't even get them on the
You
computer or
can
my
get,
cell.
you can get text, you can get an email, you can get a phone call.
yeah,
Or all of
I
those.
don't,
Better check, cause I used to get them all 3 ways and I don't get any of them anymore.
Yeah, so I don't know what would have, I mean, we only have a removable 5 or 10 of those
Right,
yeah.
employees that come and go, we try to,
Okay,
so I don't know what would have.
Cause it required, I missed it, like I saw it on my watch, and then if I didn't hit it, it kept calling.
Yeah, it will,
Well, I think it was called 3 times.
3 times.
Oh, okay. Done.
Which by then you're ready to press something.
Yeah.
Whatever they want.
Mr. Chairman, I am getting all 3. Just to FYI.
Anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron.
Jason Johnson.
Good evening.
and those,
I have John Paul at Johnson Control here with me this evening. First, before we get to John, with Johnson Controls, I wanted to touch base with you on my conversations with Custom Air. Custom Air let me know that in order for them to give us a price on what it would be to replace the systems that we have, they would reach out to Johnson Controls or an architect engineering firm and hire them to do the work for us, to give us a price on what it would be to replace our systems, because it's a lot more involved than just replacing one little thing. They also let me know that they feel like our pipes and our walls are not in the pristine condition that we were told by other people, that the pipes are extremely brittle, and to the point where they're worried sometimes that they're gonna break something off when they're replacing our steam traps. Stein Control comes in and does our testing. So asking Mickey, when are we replacing our system? Because it's about to at its end of its lifetime and due for replacement pretty soon. That was just information that Stein told Mickey. That wasn't us reaching out and asking for their evaluations of the system. That's what he said is, you guys are getting rid of this soon. We've had Custom Air here 5 times in 3 weeks, working on the boiler system to keep it working and operating in portions. We have parts that are on back order. Failed the inspection for our boiler, those parts are on order, they're finally getting here. So that's kind of the situation where we're at with our existing system. So I just want to bring John in and he can touch base with you more about the proposal that they've given us for their retrofit.
I got an updated copy of our feasibility study for you guys. So you can have that.
So when you said the walls and stuff, so is the boiler okay? You know,
We had one in the site class over the weekend, so customer was here to fix that today. It has some internal leaks that once it warms up, they swell up and they seal. But I mean, right now, the boiler is doing what it needs to do. But we have issues with the steam traps and everything else going through the system. I can't give a guarantee for as many problems we've had with the whole system this year, how long it's going to last us. But I know it's working again today.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is John Paul. I work for Johnson Controls. My job at Johnson is to help develop service plans and help long-range planning for buildings. So we work on a lot of older buildings, like yours, and try to take care of them throughout the service life of the building. This was built in 1940, so the systems in there, a lot of them are original piping. You have obviously done a really good job of keeping up this building. It's one of the most beautiful, honestly, courthouses I've been in. And obviously, it's a very historic site for Grafton and something you want to take care of and pass down to the next generation. So in my feasibility study, we talk a little bit about kind of where my place fits into this whole thing. And I thought maybe we'd walk through a little bit of that to kind of get you guys a little more acclimated with what Johnson Controls does and how we do it, and talk a little bit about our process to get you guys to a point where you understand your priorities. And then really it's back in your plate to decide what those priorities are. I mean, so it's really me just bringing information to you guys, letting you make decisions, and then coming back and have more discussions. So On page 3, we show this little graphic about, operating and maintaining your building, and when we think about a life of a building, we think about, the construction aspect, right? 1940, they exhausted a bunch of resources to get this thing built. They built it to pristine standards, and design conditions at the time were probably exactly what you guys have here. Some interesting, tidbits. I don't see a cistern cooling system very often, so for that thing to be in operation for this long, just goes to say that somebody's been doing something right here to maintain that thing and make it work. Your steam boiler plant has been upgraded over time. The original plan that I had showed 1938 that was being designed, so that was one of the first steps they did when they designed this building, was figure out that boiler plant. And that aligns with what I always say, your part of your building is your boiler plant and your boiler system. But every decision after that feeds off that decision. So when you decide to go steam, like you have here, you see all these vents on the side of the walls, you have these steam lines running around the perimeter of your building, introducing heat to each room that helps to keep your building warm and comfortable, hopefully comfortable in the winter time. Doesn't do much for you in the summertime. It's really just here to provide heat and keep the building from freezing. You do have air handler up in we'll call it the penthouse or the mezzanine, whatever it is above the courthouse there, that introduces fresh air through the ductwork in the courthouse. The lower level doesn't have that. So we are limited on the ventilation side of this building, and not at today's standards of how we do ventilation systems. So it's always a trick to switch from the conversation about how we have steam in the building, what we would design today. And I really wouldn't recommend doing it until it's time to replace a boiler plant, but that's the time that you want to have that conversation is, we steam with steam, or we're gonna go to hot water. So that's the first kind of step in the process, is deciding what the hardware building is gonna get for a heating system. And once you just make that decision, that it's time to switch over to a hot water system. Then all the different pieces that come behind that are gonna affect how you do a construction project. So, and steam piping that's embedded in these walls will be really, really hard to rip out and replace and get it renewed. So we would probably recommend, instead of trying to, like you said, brittle pipes and that sort of thing, we would probably recommend just at this point, starting a planning process to do an upgrade to a hot water system. It's more energy efficient. It's gonna have less maintenance requirements. You're gonna have less need for staff in the building to understand boiler plants. It's more of a simpler system for them to be able to work on. The industry, on the service industry that I work in, the people that worked with me on the service side, those mechanics, they'll have less headaches to deal with, less calls out here in the middle of the night and on the weekends, and that's less costly to your county over a long span. So hot water is definitely the next phase, probably for this building. And then we have to make decisions on how do we take that hot water and use it in the space. So piping into each one of these rooms would be the decision process. We don't have space in here without tearing out ceilings to run a big ductwork around. So we want to really condense that down into the smallest ductwork possible and try to use fan flow units. So that would be kind of what I have talked about and mentioned in here. And try to pepper them. And I didn't have a way to do a PowerPoint tonight, I guess, but as you can see the floor plan here, I got these blue boxes around the building. And I just kind of laid out how the fan coils would work. Each space would get its own fan coil. And like this one would share one with that room and find a spot that's kind of out of the way, and we'd have to run some ductwork. We run hot water piping to it and ductwork out of it. And that'll give you your heat. And then we'll have to run a little bit of fresh air from like energy recovery on the roof probably, or in the penthouse or the mezzanine to bring fresh air. And that would be like a 10-12 inch duct down to each one of these fan coil units. So over time, I mean, you could phase this by floor or by area and try to get this done. But once you go to the hot water, you really kind of go in hot water. So the building has to make a decision at that point just to finish the program there. So you do one boiler at a time or something like that if you wanted to, but that would be the recommendation from Johnson Controls. Alongside that comes new controls. So all these old pneumatic controllers that you see throughout the building, it's another outdated technology. So over time, these tubes that run these pneumatic lines over to a valve on the leak, you'll have, little or no control and really no way to fix it other than trying to fish a line across to that valve. So, just, think about what is it, 83 years now? Some of this stuff has been sitting and running. I don't know anybody that has a reliable car from 1940 that hasn't had to do some upgrades or major overhauls. So, the mechanical systems are what they are, I guess, at some point in time. They look nice, they might work okay, but they're not gonna give you the latest and greatest energy efficiencies. And the big thing that we're seeing in the industry right now is trying to get to an ASHRAE 62.1, which is the American Society of Heating and Refrigeration Engineers, where they establish these standards in code for our engineers to follow. And that main thing there is to bring fresh air into spaces, public spaces, make sure you're filtering that air, make sure, because obviously COVID brought all this to the forefront of how we should design buildings. So a lot of schools, a lot of public buildings are going through this process of trying to renovate their systems to match today's standards so that they are compliant for things like the pandemic and that sort of thing. So over time, the decisions are based on new design standards instead of whatever we have is just good enough. Let's just replace the boiler plants. So, so we're trying to get creative and find ways to put a new system in here that makes sense for the building, for the long run, makes sense for the pocketbook, so you're not spending extra money on anything. And we, alongside that, we will also put in a cooling system, a chilled water plant. We would run hot water and chilled water throughout the building, so that every area would have AC in the summer and every area would have reliable heat in the winter. And we would all have fresh air coming in a certain measures amount, so that to make sure that every space in the building is being properly ventilated. So that's the HVAC side. On this feasibility study, we talked a little bit about other aspects of the building as well. We went through the plumbing aspect, the domestic water lines, which a lot of those are pretty plugged, I guess. I don't know, I guess the examples that I've gotten with Jason were look pretty scaled up and calcium is built up inside the pipe. That did have a picture on page 15 of that line. That was a domestic water line, right?
That's actually mine, upstairs in the penthouse.
Well, that's a chilled water line from the cistern.
Yeah.
Okay, so regardless, I guess there is galvanized piping in the walls for your domestic water lines too. So you can imagine over time, in 80-some years, what that's gonna look like inside the wall. So the fix for your domestic water lines would be to, again, try to find routes for piping that doesn't involve ripping out your entire ceilings and trying to destroy the beautiful plaster that you have in this building. So we would very carefully plan that out and find ways to bring PEX tubing to the bathroom units and to your water fixtures, and probably shut off the areas that you're not using. There's several miscellaneous bathrooms throughout the building that I don't think are really in use anymore, so we won't worry about those so much. We focus on the ones that we need only and try to get that water lines ran each one of those. We did study the restrooms. There was some questions on ADA compliance and what we would need to do to make it ADA compliant. You're grandfathered in right now with the fixture counts that you have. So that can be good news. If you don't want to tackle that right now, you could make it work with what you probably have. We would want to see some door locks or something to the main door to those bathrooms becomes the lock, so it's just one person occupancy at a time. Doesn't probably bode very well when you have a big jury here or something going on where you have a lot of people in the building. But that would be a fix, that would be the cheapest route to go. So part of my original numbers had a more major renovation in the bathroom. But we could probably peel that down, by several $100,000 if we didn't do that major renovation. I would like to see, I guess, a little more information during a development phase that would talk that to make sure that we're doing the right thing there and have more discussions with you guys about that before we decide exactly what that looks like. So We could do that during the development phase, break out the numbers and make decisions after we know what the actual price is for those bathrooms. The last thing I think we had under heating, cooling, ventilation, controls, bathrooms, domestic water, maybe that was everything. So that kind of is the short version of the projects that we looked at under this study. Inside your mechanic room, there was some questionable things that we had to throw a little bit of budget at as well to reroute some of the water mains that come in over the electrical panel and that sort of thing. So that sort of thing just needs to get done when we're out here working. So we're up to code in that area, make sure that things look the way they're supposed to in that boiler room when you're done with the project. But the major heartbeat of this building, the heating and the cooling and the ventilation would get updated to today's standards and would be good for another, 30, 40 years easily in this building. And just a lot more energy efficient, a lot more reliable, and you're more comfortable for the people that work here in and out of the building every day and for your courthouse too. Is there any questions on the study or the projects?
So when you talk, I think it was oil fans or whatever you're talking, changing the air. So does each individual room gonna have their own thermostat so it's controlled? Because we've got trouble now that sometimes this room's hot and they're cold.
Yep. So we laid this all out on your blueprints, and try to do a takeoff so we're as accurate as we can on these budgets. So we kind of have an idea of where we would put these fan coils and like I said, this plan kind of shows you how it would work together, make rooms work together. So you're not having like actually one fan coil per room. You might swing a couple of them together just because they can be. If you're having issues with, every building is gonna have issues where you have a neighboring person in their office that's hot and one next to is cold. And you have to deal with that a little bit. So I would say, we would wanna know what those issues are up front a little bit, but, we'll try to make as much, of this work around the spaces that we have. And see if we can get the ductwork runs to connect without going overboard, because fan coils, you're gonna try and average up to a certain number of CFM. Picture like your house, like a residential furnace, I guess, or that's what we call an air handler in residential. And on top of that's your cooling coil, your A coil. Inside of it's probably your heater of some sort of gas heater, electric heater, whatever it is. A fan coil is very similar to that, only we're piping hot water to it, we're piping chilled water to it. It's a fan and coils, that's all it is, and we're trying to regulate the coils with control valves. And so the air that comes out of that, we don't wanna put in like 15 or 18-inch ductwork through this little room, because it has to feed a room on the other side of the building. So if we can really shrink that down by saying, okay, all you gotta serve is these two rooms, well, now I can get away with a 12-inch duct going across there, so 10-inch duct maybe. And see if we can really shrink that down. So you're trying to make this the best decision possible without going overboard. I think we have 34 fan coils figured in this thing, so 34 zones. And we'll have to play with that design until we get it right.
So most of it here, you read it as retrofit. How do you go from the process of changing from the boiler to the hot water? Do you use any part of that boiler, or, there's a process here that it's gonna change, so how does that happen if you
Well,
retrofit
if
it?
you have a boiler that was like, let's say 10, 15 years old or less, whatever that, magic number is for us to decide. Sometimes I can take a steam boiler and convert it over to hot water. I have to bring out the boiler stamp guy and do that. He has to approve it and make sure the vessel is gonna work for that. And occasionally when we do that, I mean, there's a cost associated with that too, of course. You're not gonna gain any efficiency. It's still gonna be an 80% efficient boiler. So you're really just getting an old boiler to run as a new hot water boiler instead. So if you wanted to design a system today with hot water, I would want to try to bring my temperature down of that water and design my coils to be able to accept cooler temperatures. And that's gonna make the boiler have to condense before the flue, the exhaust gets out the flue, because it's gonna be cooler. So that's where you gain that efficiency, is by getting condensing boilers. instead of these 80% efficient, old style boilers. So they have, 20% of that heat going out the exhaust, which carries all that moisture out. When I try to get a 95% efficient boiler, only 5% of that heat's going out the exhaust, which means that some of that water in that exhaust is gonna drip back down. And that's when I have to switch it to a different style boiler, so, yeah, so I guess the long, short of the answer is, it just depends on your boilers today, and if we want to.
So that boiler, if we replace it, is that figured in this?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
okay thing, so the whole boiler plant would be replaced, a new chiller and pumps associated with all this stuff, so. And all the piping.
How disruptive would this be to the operation of the courthouse?
So this is always a tricky one, so we do a lot of courthouse work and, depending on when you're in session, we would want to make sure we would control construction during those days very tightly, no hammer drilling, and we would have to go to night work for those days. Just depends on if it's trial or whatever your judge wants to do. But for the operation of the normal workday here, we would have to probably move people around and try to zone it off by where we think we can work. Your corridors would have to be full access for the floors that we're on working in. And we would just work hand in hand with Jason or whoever, Mickey, and try to manage it as best we can. Make sure we're clean and tidy everywhere we go and then not try to be disruptive at all. But it would be a joint venture to try to get that figured out, so.
Just for the audience's information, the bid is 4.8 to 5.5 million.
And that's a budget, not a bid, but yeah, it's just a planning stage, so.
What's the time frame usually? If you started and then when we decided to go through it and you went right through it,
I would say after we start construction, on site, we're looking at, easily a 6 to 12 months. I mean, it just depends on how we tackle this, if we want to do it all at once or if we want to phase it somehow, so. It's a lot of stuff that has to happen, so.
And there ain't gonna be any surprises.
There's always surprises. Yeah, I can't see above all your ceilings, I can't see everything I need to see until I'm here, so. We do usually recommend to an owner, once we get to that phase of the construction, at least an actual proposal. That you would carry some money in contingency above that, outside of my contract, to say, just in case, John comes back and says, we didn't think of this, and we know we have to do it, so. But our process is to really, dig into the next phase as a group and understand your priorities first. You have a list of all those things we can do. We don't have to do all of it, but maybe we do it over time. And then once we know what that list of priorities is, we write it down. We say, okay, we all agree these things need to happen, but we don't know the cost of that until we actually get hard numbers on everything. So then we would sign a project development agreement where we work together and I start designing this project for you. And we get all the hard numbers in from, like you said, mentioned custom air or steel input or these different contractors, bring them to the table. We get the lowest bids we can possibly find with the most reliable people we can find to make sure that when you get these guys on site, they're not going to be, the worst decisions we've ever made. So we work really hard to make projects go smoothly by picking the right vendors and picking the right contractors to be here with us to get some of the stuff done. And then we also take those back to you into a proposal format. We follow a cooperative purchasing arrangement that we have through source law. And the state allows you to do things through cooperative purchasing. And then you make a decision on that proposal. And until then, we really don't have a contract per se to do the work, but we would have a contract under the project development agreement to kind of start that work. So you're really not deciding until we know our numbers on everything. So we're a ways away from that. Project development agreement for a phase for a project like this size, I would say we need, 8 to 10 weeks probably at least to do that phase and get good hard numbers on everything. So we would be looking at coming back here summer time maybe to make that proposal to you guys. So, and it takes, another month or two from now, I understand, for you guys to make decisions. So if you guys wanted to have a committee discussion outside of this meeting, you could do that with me. Or if you wanted to have me back to have you just you know, as you think about things, you can have me back and we can talk things through more in depth, so. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of things to think about here, so we understand that.
Mr. Chairman, couple questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you do quite a few courthouses. Do you have a couple recent ones you've done or names of counties?
We worked with, well, we got, they're born Minnesota, but yeah, Lyon County, Minnesota, Timberlake, Wadena County.
Are these on the historical register?
Trying to think, I'm not positive about that. This one is, right, so we have to think about that too, and that's part of the reason why the budget is what it is too, is
Yeah,
because
I'm
of that.
sure.
So anytime we bring it to an engineer, show them what we have, they're like, you're gonna pay a little more to be that careful to make things right, so, and I get it. But
What do you think that added to the bill?
I really can't tell, I guess,
25%?
10, 15, I would say at least probably, yeah. But we want the rate. Not only design, but we also want to make sure that we jump to the right hoops with our
Yeah.
society and the aspect of not screwing up your building with putting a hole in the wrong spot or something like that is also really important to me. I don't want you guys to be disappointed in this project at all, so
We get a lot of compliments about this building.
it's phenomenal, it truly is, so. You should
I
be
have
proud.
one more question, sorry. What, my other question was, maybe not a fair one, but what do you think is the lifetime left in our current boiler?
That one's a hard one to answer. We've laid boilers along for a long, long time back, their useful life. Just depends on how many more calls you wanna have for people come out in the middle of the night and fix things, so. This is a proactive approach, not so much wait till the end of that thing is completely dead. This is, let's plan ahead, we know it's gonna die. So it just depends on, and I kind of go into this conversation knowing that you may not be ready to do this project, I understand that. That's a decision you guys have to make, it's like, when is the time for us to do this? And I sat in a commission meeting with Wadena County, and I must have been one of several people they've talked to over the years, and they're like, we kicked this can down the road for way too long, we gotta stop doing that, let's just do this project, and they wanted the approach that we use because they wanted to work directly with the people who are gonna do the work, not necessarily, 3 levels away from the work, so we are the people that are here doing the work alongside of our team, and it's hard to answer, I guess, exactly when you should replace a boiler plant, because yeah, it's when you start getting high repair bills and it starts being a bigger headache than it's worth, then it does kind of start planning this out, so.
Well, and I assume this estimate could easily change if we kick the can down
It
the road
changes
a couple
every year.
years.
Yeah. You were talking about labor, and how much the prices have changed over time, it's been a weird couple of years of price increases for not only our labor force, but our materials have gone insane in the last 2 years, and it's hard for us to even know what we're gonna be budgeting a year or two from now, so. Plan on an increase if we come back here in a year from now, we know that, so. But this wouldn't be a project we could do this summer, it would be next summer after that, so. That would be the planning time we would need.
Our bigger problem is in the walls more than the boiler, isn't it?
I think that's what I'm hearing. And you do have some problems in your boiler room as well.
Oh, yeah.
And your cooling system is obviously way outdated. That needs to go, but yeah, your piping in the walls, I guess Jason would have to talk to that more than me, so.
From my standpoint, our chilling system, our cooling system is a lot higher priority than the boiler. If those pipes, I can't do anything with the gate valves that are down there. I've talked, the reason we got to this point is I've talked to every plumber that I can, people from Grand Forks, the locals, nobody is willing to touch those gate valves to replace them. And a few of you have been down there to see them, where they've been rusted out and corroded out. We've changed we did get some new controls on 2 of them, because we bought new lock grips, vice grips put onto them, but that's how we open and close it.
Don't you use a pitchfork?
Yeah, I had to use pitchfork last year when I was afraid I was gonna break a pipe. That's how the gate moves. I have to have that much leverage where a potato pitchfork in my arms and me saying lots of prayers that I wasn't gonna break something. My biggest concern is breaking one of those gate valves, or breaking one of those main pipe supply lines, and the water will fill the boiler. It'll fill the chase where all our IT is, where we have phone lines, electrical lines. And it's not coming out until it makes it out the doors. Because we won't have enough flow, I'm afraid, to get that water and keep up with it before it goes into the basement vaults. Or which case I would lose half of our plans and documentations and history for all of our stuff for the bridges and roads.
So if you were to replace the pipes. Or, I wanna make sure I'm understanding this right, the pipes and the boiler should be replaced at the same time or not?
Yeah, we wouldn't want to replace the pipes because they're buried in your walls.
Because of all, so you wanna
it's-
put in the
it would
new
be very
water
We
system.
would find new routes for new pipes and just leave those in place. All these fancy architectural radiant panels would just stay the way they are.
Okay.
We could fill it with insulation if you wanted to, or something to that effect, but it would be very destructive, I guess, to try to find how all your steam piping and get the slopes back for the condensate back to the boiler room. And it would, we'd have to tear a lot of things out to make that work. So we're trying to find a way that would be less destructive, so, and get you the latest technologies, so you have a good system, so.
When you're talking about phasing, so are you saying that we could work on the piping, the cooling system without completely replacing the boiler? Is that kind of what you're getting at too? That could be a potential phase?
My answer to that would be probably not what you want to hear, but I would need to study that as part of the development phase, so that we could really get in the nitty-gritty details, and then say, is it possible to design this to do in 2 summers or something to that effect, or something like that. But once you kind of would make the move to do the hot water system, you probably just got to see it through, so. It just depends on why you want to phase it, or is it because of the people in the space, or we can't move them to any other building, or is it because we can't afford it? Those are bigger.
I would say money would be the biggest issue right now. I mean, of course, we worry about employees too, but.
You know, and I don't know where you were, I guess we introduced you guys to, Ann from, can't think of their name right now, is it Ellers or one of those? It's, yeah, the bonding company, but that would be the way to probably do it. If you're gonna bond, that's the time to do it, is under the same bond, because that's gonna give you the best financing option. And you get the best pricing now instead of doing it in phases, so.
So when you look at the 4.8, 4.8 to 5.5, does that include, like, if you tear these out, is that to get the building back into its look now? So there's no extra cost to fixing the walls or replacing this and that?
We'd have to put some general contractor money to do your, drywall or
Yeah.
whatever this is, we try to do the repairs.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of design questions that have to, in my mind, even.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how are we gonna do this exactly? Because I can show a duct going across that wall, and it doesn't show I'm gonna take care of the detail in that wall. I need to figure that out yet, or how I'm gonna suspend it, or am I gonna disrupt this copper or whatever that is up there, and
We will be looking at an exposed venting system. That's one thing that everyone needs to know ahead of time, is inside our hallways, inside our rooms, there will be, an exposed venting system.
we would try to pop it through to the hallways, so you wouldn't see so much of the hallways, but in the rooms themselves, there probably would be.
so what's that gonna look like?
Yeah.
Those spirals that you see in some of the restaurants, I know. some
Okay,
people
But we would
like-
look at options there, we've even talked about, is there an architectural spiral that doesn't look like a restaurant? We wanna think about that, make sure it looks like it's supposed to, and the historic preservation wants to, so. We'll have to think about what that is.
Well, the elephant in the room is, do we spend this here, or do we look at adding it on to the jail? And then what do we do with this building? What can we do? What? Our hands tied with this historical society? Myself, I don't see spending the money on this building. Not when we're putting up a new facility, a jail. $5.5 million would go a long way on another addition on that jail. We've still got sewer gas leak. Those pipes are staring us in the face just like the LEC was. And I know, it's a beautiful building and nobody wants to hear it, but there comes a point in time. And $5.5 million, in my opinion, is the point.
What scares me is, and I get you, Danny, it's like putting the money into an old car, how much do you put into it, but. To this all, we're gonna probably have to go to the voters and the people. And there's gonna be a lot of people up here that like this building and aren't gonna want us to touch it. They're gonna want us to put it in there, so that's one hurdle, and probably the biggest hurdle besides the money, it's gonna be. Asking those people, why do we wanna do this? And I get you, Danny, I'm not against it.
I'm throwing it out there because it's $5.5 million.
Yeah, it makes more sense, but. we have to go-
Well, but does it, I mean, I think we would have to look at what would be the cost to add on to the jail.
Yeah.
To, you know, I think that, to me, that's what we'd have to have first, is what would it cost to add on to the jail, and then look at it, you know, is it gonna cost 10 million to add on to the jail for our space needs? Or is it gonna cost 5 million? I don't know, I have no idea,
That's just what I'm saying.
yeah, so maybe that's what we need to get, is an idea, have this Simmons group or look at that.
And like we said, we wanna be honest and open to the people when that vote comes up for the jail, so we've gotta really nail this down to see what to do.
I did ask a couple of those questions to architects and stuff, and you know, it's 26,000 square feet. Take that times $350, what do you get? It's a hot rate, so.
And I think we could build this for.
And you don't get this, you don't get this.
Yeah.
This is a really, really interesting building, and I mean, no offense, it's built, they're built like. There's so much concrete in here, and they don't build them like this anymore. They really don't.
I agree.
So a new building wouldn't compare, but at the same time, I understand, you know, new is nice and shiny and new, and it's hard to do these old retrofits, so. I'm not trying to persuade you one way or another, that is the question that Jason asked from the beginning as well, is it worth doing this, or should we add on to the law enforcement center? So we thought we'd go through the work of trying to figure it out, and now we kind of have an idea how we would do it. And we have an idea how much that costs, which is a lot, but now it's something food for thought for you guys, so. I don't know how you make that decision, but I'd be happy to come back and have more conversations when you're ready, so.
Well, we appreciate all the work you
Yeah.
put into that
Definitely.
and the information.
Any other questions?
You haven't made our decision any easier.
No.
Well, and if you want to ever get into details, I could bring in some teammates with me and we can talk about how we would do it. And that's probably, you know, more questions that we need to figure out, how would we do this? I'll take Jason's direction from this point forward, if you guys don't need to come
Yeah.
on.
Well, thank you for your time, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sitting on chair. I thought you were saying about your kids. All right, thanks.
The next item up I had was LEC boiler. We did have an issue with the LEC boiler. It ended up being a fuse that we had to bring a customer up to find that. We can get that back up in operation. Didn't create too much of an issue there. So that, just want to let you guys be aware of that situation. Customer hasn't only been here, they've also been in the Chase building for a fan on the top of the rooftop a couple times now. So that's just that one, just wanted to bring that up to you. The next spot I had was the farmer's room screen with the projector. So what we had talked in the past is, I told you, we replaced that bulb for $120 and projector in the basement, and the farmer's room still doesn't work. I gotten a price or had Nikki get a price from Wayne's Plumbing. Pretty much a not to exceed price of $2,458 for an 82-inch smart screen TV to be mounted on the wall. That's them doing all the install, it's them having the mount and the work to do it, get it out there. I looked at the screen that is in the jail or the LEC portal. That screen is way too small, in my opinion, to put up in the base into the farmer's room. Now, it's only like a 48-inch screen compared to what we're looking at to replace what's downstairs. So that's kind of where I'm at. Another TV, we can purchase it for a little less cheap from someplace else, but then I still have to get it installed. This is the only place I know of that has the TVs and the install capabilities. I want to bring this to your attention and see where we want to go from there.
What did you say it was, Drew?
Wayne.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I didn't hear what the price was from Wayne's.
$2,400 $58.
Okay, thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
And that's installed too?
That is installed.
Okay,
They say if there's any extra materials if needed, but I can't foresee anything extra we would need. The jacks and everything are right there. I can buy the HDMI cable to hook to people's laptops, then if anybody that comes in with their laptop, no matter who the presenter, they can take they can take our HDMI cable, connect it to their laptop, and we're set. It's just a change of the screen instead of having to worry about the projector bulb and all those things going with it. You get a much clearer view of it as well. Because even with the projector screen we have, if you have a morning session, you'll have light that comes through and shines through the screen that we have in the basement.
Could we use
Mr.
COVID?
Chairman,
Yes.
what fund would we take this out of? If we
Yeah,
decide,
that's what we're talking, wondering if we could use COVID money.
Yeah, why not?
It's general fund.
Yeah. I think it's something we need to do now.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
slightly
need
later.
here.
I make a motion if we need one.
And use care money, purchase
Yeah.
COVID.
I'll second it.
So accept the bid from Wayne's.
Yes, that's.
Yep.
we should-
Okay, is there any further discussion? No? Christie?
Yeah.
Maria?
Yes,
Karen?
Yes,
Amy?
Yes,
Myself, yes, motion carried.
Much, I didn't get on the agenda, but I did get a permit application from Jeremy Ricky. What he's looking at is taking an old approach alongside of County Road 6 along the south branch of the river. Basically that big ditch part where it's the conversion. Where he's talking about, we looked at where the right of way is and there is some materials there that he was looking to have removed. There's a culvert there that would be removed in this process. They just take some stuff out and just looking to get some of his land back, because it used to have a road for access to gentleman that lived in that quarter. And since that road has been changed to a different approach, and Adam was just trying to remove some of that out of the ditch, out of the right of way, so that he can gain some of his farm ground back.
Anything we need to run by the water board?
Yes, that would be something we need to run by the water board. So I just bring it to you for your signature. I will not sign it until the water board signs off on it. I won't be here for their meeting tomorrow, but I can just leave it and have a discussion with them all about it. But
I can't make the meeting tomorrow, I got an appointment, so. No, do you think it's gonna affect anybody downstream?
no,
Okay, that's the main thing.
no, where it flows, it's just gonna be going underneath the road right there too. So it's not gonna be, nothing he's gonna be doing, from what I can see, is gonna affect
Where's this at?
anything. It's on County Road 6, north of 17, at the river channel that you know. I suppose it's a river. It looks more like a drainage ditch that is right.
Yeah.
It runs through that area, so. But if you don't have any, I guess I don't see any concerns. I wouldn't let him do anything without me being out there and discussing things and flagging things out. He does have a contractor's license, so he does have that aspect going for him for his equipment. So that gives him a little more credibility to be insured and licensed, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Jason, is that north of the drainage ditch, that big ditch?
It'd be in the southwest corner.
Okay,
So as you're going across that bridge, it'd be in the southwest corner of it.
okay,
That's another reason why I made sure I was out there before they did anything too, is because our bridge is there. So,
the bridge we closed.
no, it's open. That one's okay. That one's okay.
I was thinking the one by Bryce.
Yeah, but Brent's the one that's closed. The man bridge.
What do you want to vote on this or just?
I guess we'd have to have a motion for acceptance, as long as the water board signed off on it.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, don't we usually have the water board
Yep.
done first? I mean, so we're meeting again in a week on Tuesday. Shouldn't we be waiting until the water board? looks
We've
at
done
it or not?
it.
Oh, you
Why
have?
don't you wait, get the water board and
Okay.
I like their approval on paper before I do.
I kind of like to do that first. but-
Yep, we've done it where we've had their, but yeah, I can
Have
do
you?
that. Yep, we can bring it back. That's the problem. And then the last thing I had for you today was Sammy got the annual reports done. She's been working on these as she could, so they're in front of you. Obviously, we haven't had a whole lot of time to go over them, go through them and have up any questions, but one of the things you'll probably see is that, from our expenditures on page 4 for matching $800. Our expenditures are up, but we have FEMA, and we haven't had any money back.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I didn't get, because we got the email and I didn't know it. Should we take this home and look at it and talk about it next Tuesday?
Yes.
I'd like to do it. I like looking at it and then if I got any questions, writing it down and stuff.
Yes,
Just to go through tonight, it's just way too much.
yeah, no, I wasn't thinking we'd be able to.
Oh, okay, I thought you were gonna go through
It's too, no, I just mainly presenting it to you tonight.
Okay.
It'd be too much to go through tonight to.
We're still 6 months away on the FEMA money?
Yes, minimum,
Is there anything alarming in here we should know as we're going through it?
I don't think so. It's still the same
Basic.
basic things, everything came inside our budget lines that were proposed through going through stuff, I was get. Different prices for different things, you know, fuel oil, different stuff like that, it's all gone up, equipment prices have gone up, materials have gone up. The best thing that we did last year, I still feel is buying that computer for Stewart. That's probably paid for itself about 6 times on our trucks, so we didn't have to send on a young force for repairs. On a couple, also showing us which trucks we have the most issues with,
Yeah.
which we kind of knew before, but it's letting us do a lot more, so.
Do we
Well,
wanna-
Tammy, thank you. Appreciate having you.
Yes.
Do we want to bring up any flood issues yet? Are you preparing or?
Oh, yeah, we're preparing. The guys are going to, tomorrow afternoon, the guys will be moving the trailer with the sandbags, going over to Grafton, filling that up with more sandbags, and we just set it, shop 1. We're also starting to, the Clint's gonna start hauling some of the sand, from Lakeside, being they have the bid for our sandbag sand, but we work on Lakeside and started hauling about 400 ton of sand, so we can get it to Park River, Grafton. The city of Minto has also asked for 30 ton, being we're hauling, so we'll take care of them as well, so they can have 30 ton. City of Minto is planning on starting to sandbag on Friday. So we'll get that stuff to them, for that, it came up in the meeting we had earlier with Brent, today. So we're starting, we already had 1 call today this afternoon for somebody requesting sand and sandbags delivered to their residents in the country. People are leery from last year and we're working towards it, so. In the morning, they're hoping to go out and open up the culverts by Little Oak and get that stuff going. Wednesday, they'll be at Besleyville to open up the bridge there. They're just trying to get a little bit more melt so we can see it, so we don't hit it, the excavator. So, there's a lot of snow out there. I don't like the forecast personally. So I'd like to see a lot more freezes at night than what there is out there. I definitely don't like seeing any rains, even if it's a couple of hundredths. We don't need it.
Hopefully less frost, some of it soaks in, that'll help.
Also, I drove around this morning, there's spots where the water is sitting in there, there's also spots where you can't see anything in the river channels because it's full of snow.
Yeah.
And plugged up, so you can't see anything on that line, so I am, still fighting last year's stuff with FEMA.
Yeah.
I'm really not looking forward to starting the second round.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
does anyone know if they're still letting Homie out?
Tommy's still flowing at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes,
You have a worried look on your face, Karen.
Yep, I tried getting a couple people out there to fix my riverbank and it didn't happen, so I'll probably be calling for sand.
Anything else?
nothing for me unless you have some questions for me, otherwise I'll move on unless you have next person.
The river has not changed much at our place. from Tommy, it's been flowing, the river channel is wide open at our place, which is a wonderful sight to see, because it wasn't like this last year. when it started
Right,
flooding.
They can open it up and it helps.
Yeah,
yeah.
we've only lost our bridge one day. But it came up, melted all the ice and went down again, so.
Usually if they can let the water out so we don't get any cold days on it, it helps. Sort of, I always say tempers that snow and everything else, but they've been known to let it out and then we get those hard freezes and that's worse.
Your crew, Phil?
No, I'm down.
Down one, Eli's.
Eli's position, we're out, we have nobody has expressed any interest in it yet, where they've actually come in to get applications. I had one person reach out to me through Facebook, asking what the wages were and letting me know that they could get that much from Walmart.
Yeah, I know.
So.
But do they offer North Dakota first?
Also, but they're not getting overtime, so.
Flying in.
Walmart, they're shut off at 39 hours unless they're really hurting, which I know some places in the state, Walmart and Menards or other people are hurting, where they've loosened up those restrictions a little bit more. But you're not gonna have the same type of thing, so.
So you have Tanya put that out?
I've been putting it out and it's in the Grafton Record, it's on Facebook, where we put it out there, I'll be putting it back out there again. Last week I was pretty much focusing on the blizzard stuff and put a flood response out this morning. The last time we put out ads, we did the Grafton Record, when we filled the assistant bridge foreman position. We did Jobs HQ at Grand Forks, the Herald Forum combination with online, and that was about $1,000. We had the only place we had any interest and any people that submitted any applications from everything we did, whether it was Indeed, the paper, the online through Jobs HQ. We got applicants from Facebook. That is the only place we got applicants from besides one internal. So we only get 3 applicants, it's really hard to fill. Also, I'm staring it in the face where the DOT is filling their positions and
Offering more.
than what we pay. So, I mean, without having some sort of way to have retentions and things, we're not gonna be able to outbid DOT.
They need to do it.
Well, I was just gonna say, I would encourage you to work with Tanya on that with jobs and, you know, I just don't want Facebook to be our sole source of finding because it's.
It's in the paper when we're doing things. The last time I worked with Tanya and asked different places and I ended up doing them, so. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to add that that administrator position that she put out there, whoever she advertised through will pick up any county ads that we have right now. So I don't remember if that was Jobs HQ or who it was, but she said we could put other ads out there as well because we have
Tanya
a
has the
subscription
information.
with them.
So,
Yeah, we checked with Tanya when we did it. So.
yeah, Tanya has the information to put it on it's on our webpage too, so then Tanya has the information for it. So.
Well, keep trying. All right. Anything else, Jason?
I mean,
Thank you, Jason.
thank you.
What do you think, break?
Yes.
Yes.
Break?
Yeah, I'll take a break.
Did you guys get it? Yeah, that's,
No.
okay, I'll pass it off. Then when you're in.
I was told you were bringing copies.
Yeah, I did.
At least you got an NDSU one on.
I know. At least 7 and 8.
Oh, okay.
Well, Karen, I sent that to you, didn't I?
Pardon?
I sent. this to you.
No, unless today.
Yes, today, because I just got it today.
Okay, I'll look.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have her music. Thought I emailed it to you last week, so I apologize. And then all of our outgoing email, our university system server, not functioning today, so.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
got
get
it from you.
information from them, so I got some bills. Is that you? All right.
I think so.
Did Brad
Did you-
get up on his bike?
Yeah.
And you're on the mend, still
Yep.
contagious or?
Not contagious, but to follow public health protocol. Be like this for 3 more days.
Go to home had a flare up again too, so.
Oh, really? Everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I got it from my son at school, so. Thank you. This is
Chris.
pretty normal.
I don't see it, Chris. Unless it's in my junk mail.
Karen, I can email it to you tonight when I get back.
I have it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Aaron, I'll forward it to you. I have it.
Okay, thank you.
What you thinking?
Hmm?
What do you think?
I just keep thinking that's $5.5 million.
It ain't gonna change. Yeah, it's,
When did this bill go on the service registry?
I have no clue.
That's what scared me, is how do we circumvent that?
And what do we gotta do? We got to study or something if we go, yeah, we're about it.
We're gonna need some money, they can help pay for it.
Look what happened,
That's
to
what, I'm starting to think you don't want things.
look what happened to our little project at Hummy, when we got involved with
Exactly.
historical stuff and it's,
It just costs us a lot more money.
$80,000 grant, and we had to walk away out of.
Yeah.
We satisfied the historical society.
Exactly.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many more problems will run into this building because of that.
Exactly.
now how much money is taking an old car?
And I'm gonna start to you.
What's that?
Depends what it's worth to you.
Yeah, yeah.
What did he throw up there for per square foot? When he said
350.
building?
350.
350, that's what I thought he said. 26,000 and 350.
It's like 9 million,
It's like what?
9 million. That would be the cost for replacing this building.
Oh, yeah.
It's 350 per square foot, or
I
26.
just sent it again, Karen.
Okay, I got it from Amy. I got it from Amy too, so. And Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I just have a request that whoever sits could just in the chair, just talk a little slower. It's really hard to sometimes, I can hear
Yeah.
everybody, it's just talking fast.
all right,
Thank you.
we'll call it back to order. Katie Thompson.
All right. Well, Karen, I will try to speak slowly for you.
It's great. I can hear you good.
All right, the Arena Commission met a couple weeks ago because after Jason's evaluation about a year ago, we faced the writing on the wall that our arena is falling apart. It was built in the early 50s and we're looking at the end of its life. And so personally, I have benefited from the Arena Commission that has been in place for my entire lifetime. And it's worked really well. I would say that we have a very functional group right now that has been working well together. Because it's a lot of money to run any facility. And so it helps when we all take part of the pie and we share those expenses and those responsibilities. But we're facing the writing on the wall that this isn't going to continue forever. And so the different entities that make up the Arena Commission met, and we basically came to the agreement that we could move forward with the Arena Commission the way that it's been, but it's not ideal for any agency or entity because hockey and figure skaters have very different needs than what the county fair does. What the county could use it for. And so some of the advantages and challenges have been documented on that page for you. It's not exactly fair. We all work together pretty well, but it's not fair if you go dollar for dollar minute per minute what the expenses are. And we know that a lot of the deterioration issues are because of hockey and figure skating being in the building. So knowing that it's probably not going to be very feasible to move forward with this because the county has so many other expenses in mind for the next few years. Basically, we are seeking your approval, basically, to allow us to continue operating as the Arena Commission has for the past several years, with the understanding that entities will be trying to build new facilities for the different organizations. Park River Parks and Rec has plans that haven't been finalized, but they definitely have the conceptual design completed. And so if hockey and figure skaters decides to break away from the current arena, then that will go in with Parks and Rec. They've already got the land. It has, I don't know that it's been completely developed. And Ashley Stein is here, they're Ashley. She's the president of the park board, and then Misty Praska is the new Parks and Rec director for Park Rivers.
Could we have everybody introduce themselves
Oh,
and what entity that
absolutely.
they're?
Yep, so was Ashley then?
I'm Ashley Stein, and I'm the park board president in Park River.
Misty Praska, Parks and Recs director in Park River.
Bill Peshek, House Fair Board. Bill Hogan, Fair Board President.
Jenny Cadillac, Park River Figure Skaters Board.
And Alexis Ramsey, Park River Figure Skating Board.
Scott Kraft with North Jersey Hockey President.
Thank you all for coming, the work you've done on this. Go ahead.
So, if hockey and figure skaters goes to another building, they have the opportunity to hopefully get ice time for a longer season, which helps because our hockey and figure skating programs have at least doubled, if not tripled or more so. And that's just, I mean, I look back 5 years ago and our figure skating program has really grown, and it's wonderful to see. Since the North Star Hockey merger was created 5 years ago, our hockey numbers have tripled. And so we have a lot of youth coming to the community, and so we have a huge need for a positive and healthy outlet for them. And so if they can work with Parks and Recreation, there are different opportunities for them for fundraising that they can explore. So we see that as being a benefit. We also see that with our fall fair, we need to have our arena in October. And it would be nice to be able to hang on to it a little longer if we could. It would be nice to provide some different activities throughout the year. And so if the Fair Association and 4-H go in that direction, then hopefully everybody can move forward very productively. But all of this will, of course, take money, and we understand that. Right now, the farming markets are looking better than they have, at the moment anyway. And so John Markinson is the engineer, who's done a lot of the work on the conceptual design for the park board building. So he's thinking that now is a good time to proceed with that, and it makes sense for them to pick that ball up and run with it. Because if hockey and figure skaters stay with the current arena, we're getting to a point where that's no longer going to be effective. So we're feeling like now is the right time to, we'll work together in the interim as we have, knowing that we plan to separate in hopefully 3 to 5 years. Anybody have anything to add or change? So I guess we aren't asking for permission. We don't need a motion. This is really just to inform you of what the intent is. The timing, and there are a few other details that the Fair Association and 4-H would need to discuss. But I don't know that we're at that point right now.
Sure. I know we're concerned too, and you guys, I hopefully are looking and concerned. What's the maintenance and to run of the year? And I think of the Little Ralph or whatever they call it in Thief River, got it donated and they almost closed it because they couldn't fund it to run it a year. And we're looking at the same thing we think here with the jail. Well, the jail is how many million? Well, what's it gonna take to fund that thing and run every year? And I hope you really look into that. And I'm not discouraging you. I hope it goes too, because great for kids and everything, but really look into the keeping that thing and funding it on a yearly basis, because that's gonna haunt you if you don't.
The committee that, John Markson is on, is it the legacy committee?
Okay,
Is meeting in Park River, and they've got a pretty good business plan strategy. And we've got different entities in Park River
Good.
that they are looking at creating long-term leases
Good.
to alleviate space in other facilities around the community that are also landlocked. And that's kind of the sad reality that a lot of our big community players are facing in Park River is we've got a hospital that's landlocked. So they could be a potential person or an entity for a long-term lease. We have the school, which, yes, we have a brand new gym attached to that building, but we still are short of gym space at different times of the year. We've got other businesses. We need to have bigger meeting spaces. So there are a lot of different things that are percolating at this moment. And so we hope that when we can get everybody in agreement, people can get the ground
Look
running.
at Minto when they built that community center. Look at all the people and the entities in that little building.
Right,
Polish dancers, you got the Minto JC, you got City Hall and everything, and I said, it's working for them.
yeah,
It took a amount from everybody to get involved and do it, you know?
absolutely. And personally, I look at, when we've done our private applicator trainings, we've held them in the city hall. Well, that building is not handicap accessible whatsoever. And it's got an elevator, but it doesn't work all that well for everything that we need it to do. And so that would be another thing that would be nice. We can do up to about 50 in our office, but we have 100 almost at some of our meetings. So there's a lot of capacity there. It could be a wedding dance venue. I mean, either the city or even the, whatever the fair association, decides to do. We have a lot of ideas.
Good.
We just gotta kind of bring them all in and move forward.
And I'll say from Grafton's perspective, Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, but the North Star Youth Hockey and between them and skating, for the months that they're in there, they're a pretty strong supporter of our rink in Grafton in terms of financially. So I think, I mean, that's one thing I thought of when we had our commission meeting is something to think about for the fair and 4-H in that I know how much has been put into the current rink from those entities. So it will be important to talk about what's gonna be left there if those are out and what can be sustained or what is necessary financially.
So where would the hockey and figure skater new building go?
That would be out on the east side of town, right adjacent to the baseball diamonds.
Okay.
So they would share the same parking lot and it would be built to the south.
Okay, so what do we do 3 to 5 years? What do we do in the meantime? This building is in trouble, right? I mean, the fair building, or-
We're all hoping that we'll hold together.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We keep trying to do enough maintenance to keep it afloat, but yeah.
Yeah,
Scott?
Yeah, and we've been working with Brad, anytime something comes up, you know, we try to take care of it as quick as we can, you know, water penetration is the biggest thing in the spring. But we've gotten a grip on that a little bit, we'll probably look at doing a couple more things this year, and like we said, we appreciate the use of the building, and I mean, if we had to shut that down, it'd be detrimental to both programs, so again, we appreciate the use and we'll do what we can to keep it afloat and while these plans come in place.
No, we appreciate your cooperation too, because
Well,
it's been a boggle down there.
I've got a grab out there and figure skating and yeah, there's a lot of kids.
and a lot of volunteer service
Yeah, that's a
by
nice little
every
thing.
entity, and
Yeah,
that's kind of a thing that I hold a lot of pride in, like our community really comes together, which is really awesome to see, which we maybe won't see in the same capacity, but it's nice that we all take care of it and feel like it's our own.
Ashley, do we have a time frame? Is there goals as far as how long of completion or anything, or not there yet?
We're not quite there yet with an actual time frame. I don't think. We have all the plans in place, but and I know that there is some money that's already been allotted for this project, but it's kind of been put on hold, you know, this is the third phase, I believe, with the baseball diamonds being first, and then the campground being first, and then the baseball diamonds, and then now moving into this community center slash hospital hockey rink, if that's kind of where we go. So, I mean, I know that they've said that if this is the plan and this is what we end up moving forward with, they're hoping that within that 3 to 5 years, we would be, we're hoping to not have to lose a hockey season and, you know, hockey and skating, we don't wanna have to lose a season if we can. So we're hoping to make that work, you know, it's just getting the fundraising and all of that stuff kind of in motion now that this is kind of becoming a reality.
I mean, I went to the Park River skating show, my son skated with a girl, and I was amazed at how many kids, I was shocked for that, and then I know we had, I think it's 60+ termites in night, so those are your new kids coming into the program in both levels, I mean, that's so many kids,
Yeah.
so.
Future's all about the kids.
So can I ask, how does the fair board feel about this agreement?
Yeah, I mean, we're in favor of it, we brought it both to the fair board and to the 4-H council, and it's kind of the way we're looking at going with it.
Just keeping things as is for the next 3 to 5 years until they can move out, basically?
Yes, yeah.
And then after that, we're gonna figure out on our own what to do with the building?
Well, part of the concern that I have from the fair board standpoint of it is if we were to build again like we are a shared unit. Well, hockey and skaters aren't out of there until March. We've got to have a building up by October for our fair. I don't see that happening. So I think to not lose a hockey season, to not lose a fair season, I think this makes the most sense.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And to build on that same footprint, it's not a regulation size sheet ice, right?
No.
So, yeah, it does make the most sense.
So we would separate and look at possibly having to build a new fair building?
Well, we've stuck a lot of money in that fair building and that's at its age too. You know,
Grabbed out $1 million over the last.
yeah,
20 years.
And I think there's things that we envision would like to do with our fair that we can't because we are somewhat handicapped with the hockey arena in there, in that type of a building. I think if we went our separate way, we would be able to custom that a little bit more and make it more usable for the 4-H and fair aspect of it. And then have to generate other entities, you know, keep money coming in year round. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna pay for a building using it a week at a time.
I think you both benefit from separating it.
Ideal location for hockey and figure skaters though is where that building is right now.
They've got the plan
Yeah.
to, there is a bus that goes from the school down to
Yeah,
Regina. So it's just at the end of that street. So that is an opportunity for, the transportation. There are things to come, but a lot of details to iron out in the meantime.
That site is ideal, but it's also, I mean, I was at the skating show and the cars, and I think there were issues with the plows getting out, and so there are also things that are not good with it being right there.
You probably don't remember it. I remember when the peanut gym was there. And you look at yeah, you look at the progress and everything else, and that was an old skeleton, and I'm going, now look at it. You know, so, yeah, it's progress.
But you're looking at the east end of town, right?
For the hockey arena, yes.
And skating. No.
Yeah, hockey and skating
right.
would be together, yeah, on the east side.
And the pool.
Wishful thinking.
Well, I want to thank you all for all the time and effort you put into this. It's been a headache. And will continue to be, but it takes dedicated people like you guys to make this thing work, and I appreciate it, and everybody else in the county does, so thank you.
Keep us informed. It's nice to hear, so we know what's going on too.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll try to support you as much as we can, but maybe not financially.
Remember, we gotta ask the taxpayers.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie and the group.
Brent. When we talked about this in about a month or two.
Not the flood.
He wanted a motion,
No, I need the spring flooding.
that's what I said, he wants a motion to
Yeah.
delay it.
I said, got we talked about this in a month or two?
Stick that in there.
We got the power to delay it, Lori. So, couple things before we move on to the flooding thing, just if you weren't aware, this week is National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, so. Encourage you to reach out to your dispatchers and thank them for the job and their commitment to being here. The rest of the county was enjoying their storm day. They were still trying to figure out how to get over the snow drifts to fill their position, so.
Do you have any problems at all?
No, everybody got there. Well, the one from Park River didn't get in, but we had people in town to cover everything, so. And they were able to get in town not too bad, so. So, no, it worked out okay, but it just always gets interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Who's gonna be able to get there and who's gonna have to stay longer and so, but no, it worked out well, so. And then the other thing is, we had a briefing this morning on the snow, systems thing. And we need to sign a request saying that we will participate in it. The county and the townships are all lumped together. I mean, each one has its own qualifications, but all the counties submit through the county.
Wait, what is this now?
For the state snow assistance
Oh,
program,
that one that you just passed.
the one that the governor just signed, yep. So it's all run through the state, so this isn't a FEMA program or anything, but they're kind of running it like a FEMA program, but not a FEMA program where they want all the townships to go through the county. And then, we need to sign a request to state that we're gonna participate. The request just basically says the entity, who the applicant agent is, who the main contact is going to be. And some of that, so we're looking for some guidance on how you wish for us to proceed with that. If you want Jason to be the applicant, or if you want me to do it, or. And I don't mind doing it, the only problem I have is that, I'm not the expert on some of these road things, so when they come back with questions, and I'm just a middleman.
It's kind of your wheelhouse, so with the emergency deal.
And so, I
Why don't
mean, he's doing the flood stuff at the moment, so if you want me to do the snow one, I can do the snow one. That's fine, I don't have a problem with that, so.
Okay.
He's still fighting FEMA from last year.
No, I know. Well, this isn't FEMA, this one won't.
No, but I mean,
The only fighting here will be is trying to get all the information in a timely, because,
Right.
for the early snow, October through December, the end of December, we have to have all that in by the end of the month here, which is also why we're starting the flood, so it'll be interesting for either one of us to work on it. And then for the entire winter season, if there's any money left over, then that has to be in by the end of May, so. So we'll get notices out to all the townships tomorrow, and hopefully most of them have their stuff, because we've asked them all for it already for part of the legislative process, how much.
Yeah.
So hopefully most of them have it put together already, so it won't take too long. I don't know if there's gonna be. So to give you an example, so the one example I figured out is that, if you average over the last 5 years, then we're just looking at a township, because the county did a lot more money, but if a township averaged $1,000. Well, it's 150% of that, so it's already figured out at $1,500. So if this year it cost you 3,000, you gotta subtract the 15 from the 3, so you're down to 15, and then at 60% of that, so you get $900 out of it. So, depending on how much money they've spent, whether it's worth some of the time and the paperwork is something they'll have to decide. So, but we'll get it out, we'll get it submitted, and we'll go from there. So, spring flooding. This evening before, or late in the afternoon, I guess, I put out a hydraulic outlook for most of all of eastern Walsh County and western Minnesota. Which means that, which basically says temps above freezing for this week will result in rapid ripening and melting of the snow. Onset of river and overland flooding early as late this week, potentially. So, which is, pushes it in towards this weekend where there's some chances of some rain, so that could expedite things. With that said, the forecast is they're still sticking to their, 23rd of March, 26th or 23rd of March, I can't remember what day the last forecast came out on, but they've done some updates, but they haven't really changed those numbers, but instead of using the 50%, they're recommending using like the 25 percentile chance of. So those 25 percentiles, so for Minto, that would put them at 6.5 feet, which is just a half a foot over flood stage, which wouldn't, be any significant flooding there. But even the 10% in Minto is still only looking at 7.1 feet, which is still would not put water on Highway 81, so it still would not be a major flooding. Now that said, the caveat with all of that is if all of a sudden they went to rain and it all melts overnight, that can change drastically.
What's your gut tell you?
Well, I don't know, I don't trust my gut anymore because it screwed me over last year and.
But and maybe you should take into consideration, what killed us last year was cross country, and you look at the ditches and everything else, and that's gonna hurt us again this year. That cross.
But see, last year, everything was open.
Yep.
It was all, the rivers were open, the drains were all open, most of the snow was gone, other than some way in the west, but that 2-inch rain on that frozen ground, it all just flowed.
Yeah, and it opened up and it found its way.
But right now, I mean, everything is plugged and solid, so it's gonna take it, once it starts moving, it's gonna take it a while to work its.
Yep.
I mean, that's so, rather than massive overland flooding, I mean, you might have some isolated pockets where it breaks out and it causes some. But like I said, there's a lot of snow out there yet, so it's, you know, the potential is certainly there for, I think, significant flooding, but. I think there's also, if we can get through this weekend, next week's forecast is calling for more of the mid-40s and lows in the 20s again. We'll slow everything down drastically. If we
How
can
much
get.
rain are they talking this weekend?
I heard half an
It
inch today.
depends on who you forecast you look at, so most of the stuff I've looked at through the National Weather Service doesn't have, it only has like a 10th to 1500s. Some of the other studies say there's opportunity for a significant rainfall. You know, so it's, you know, and the caveat with all of that is, as well, it's too many days out, they can't give you an accurate.
The one thing we got going for, the frost isn't real deep, and if it.
Which is why some of these numbers are lower.
Yep.
They're hedging on the fact that some of this water is gonna go into the ground, some of it's gonna be absorbed. And there isn't, I mean, there's, you know, water out there, but it isn't the water content we've seen in some of the other years when we've had big floods. I mean, there's a lot of snow, but there isn't that water content isn't in that snow like it's been in some of the other ones, you know, we're still only sitting in that 3 to 4 inches of water in there, where we've had 7, 8 inches of water in that stuff, and that makes a big difference in the volume coming, so.
Are all these smaller dams full?
No, actually, so we had a meeting today at 1 o'clock this afternoon, we had a preparedness meeting. About a dozen people that came to it today, and Rita was there from,
No.
and she's still with NRCS, I can't remember her exact title, but she was, and I mean, we asked about the dam, she said, you know, most of the dams are, you know, they didn't have any significant damage last year, so they're in fairly decent shape, most of them. The smaller ones are, you know, down because it was dry last year in the fall, so they have storage and. You know, which is another thing different from last year, is last year. We had already had our spring melt and spring runoff, so everything was full from whatever. So when we got that later season, at the end of April, May, we got that later rain and event. Well, like Homie was already at the top of the spillway, so everything that came right over the top of the spillway. Now, you know, Homie's 16 feet below the spillway. So it's got some storage capacity, and all the other dams haven't filled in with anything yet, so they have some storage capacity, so. So there are some things working in our favor, you know, the item that's not working in our favor is the temperatures. The next few days are, you know, mid-40s to 50 and not freezing at night. And then this precipitation chances at the end of the week. And you know, where they're gonna run, I don't know. They're gonna be questionable. The hope is that, you know, through the tributaries, we're gonna probably maybe hopefully fare better than we did last year anyway. The Red River, I think, is gonna be a whole different story. I think there's gonna be water out there that. You know, we're not gonna be able to, because everything's just gonna go there, and unfortunately, Oslo is still a low spot in the whole system, and when the water gets here, it just sits here. Even at, you know, they're at 50% chance of 36.3. 25%, which is the number they're telling us to kind of run with, is 37.3. Last year we had 37.47, so basically very similar to what was out there last year. I mean, the 10% chances for 38.4, which would be a flood record at Oslo. We're the only site that potentially hit the flood record, so. Although I will tell you that they forecast that for Oslo and other times, and it takes a lot of water to hit that. I mean, once you start getting into that 37.5, to push it up, you know, even a 1/10 of an inch takes a lot of water. It would take a major rain event or something, I think, to push anything to that level, but.
The big thing is the water and the snow and everything from Fargo and that Cheyenne River and all that, how quick that's gonna hit us.
Right, and that stuff is very, they've put Fargo and all of those into flood warnings for like Friday, if
This
they get
weekend.
flood stage this weekend. And I told, we had people from Minto there this morning, I mean, I told Minto that in, in the past, a lot of times. When Fargo was hitting flood stage, Minto hits flood stage, they seem to correlate that Minto site along with the Fargo site on the Red River. About the time Fargo's Red River is going, Minto's going on the Forest River.
I just I'm guessing and wondering on heading west on 17. I remember last year, I mean, they closed for a little while and that might have been due, I'm guessing, from the overland flooding. I just have never seen the amounts of snow on 17 heading west, even amongst our, and I mean, a lot of those county roads were, I know that 8 was north of heading north from 17 was blocked for quite a while. So was that because of the overland and kind of all those conditions, or do we have concerns
Yeah.
with that amount? Just, I mean, just driving on the road, I've never seen that amount of snow that's there right now in the ditches and even, the mountains when you look to your side right there.
Right, so, well, and my personal opinion with the mountains along 17 have a lot to do with the roadside or road.
Yeah.
What things they put in there that, and I think, because it isn't consistent wherever they have those road flares to be like that, but I think in the case.
You could see it.
Yeah, but here, I think what happened is in December or whatever, they didn't get it
Yeah.
pushed out far enough and then it got away from them and they couldn't get it. And then with those posts there, they couldn't just come and
Right.
get enough speed to push it all out, so that it just got behind on it all, and then they couldn't catch up, so it's.
I
So,
just
yeah,
don't
there is-
know the water, I mean, if that's gonna impact, depending on, that's a major.
If the culverts don't open, it could go up and over the snow. I mean, you look at our county intersections with township roads. Look at some of the banks on them. Is it gonna stay in the ditch? Is it gonna go across? I mean.
Well, that's where I think we're gonna see more. Like last year, pretty much all of the water was coming through the channels and the river, I mean, and then the river got overwhelmed and then it started going everywhere, but. This year, I think some of the problems gonna be actually trying to get to the river, where you're gonna run into some of these road ditches or. The field drains into the road ditch and the road ditch drains into the river eventually, well, is it gonna be able to get down that road ditch, or is it gonna start backing up?
And
somewhere
hopefully if
else?
it sits on the field, it'll suck some more up too.
Well,
I'm
and
getting it home.
like I said, and hopefully a lot of this will get pulled into the ground. I mean, I can. Even now with just a little bit of melting we've had where I've seen water pool by the end of the day, but come morning, that little pool's gone. And it hasn't run off anywhere, so it's
going down.
it's going down already to some degree. I mean, that's small volumes, it's not large volumes, but there is some water going into the ground.
Yeah.
I would just say document, I'm taking pictures if there's flooding from those posts, so we can go to Bismarck next year and say, get them off of 17 at least. If they're not gonna take them all out.
So.
It'd be nice if they'd all go out.
So part of that is if you wish to make a emergency declaration for flooding at this point. So this is just every time we have a flood, we make an emergency declaration that just states that we have concerns and issues with flooding and we're gonna put our resources towards preparing for and responding to the flood, so.
I'll make a motion, we move forward with one.
I'll second it.
Sign it. Making the motion to sign
Yeah.
the declaration.
What's a snowpack over in the Minnesota
On
side?
it?
Oh, yeah, okay. We'll call for the vote. Any further discussion? We'll call for the vote, Christie.
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes,
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carried. What's a snowpack over on the Minnesota side?
Most of what I know is that, I mean, there's like this last storm, they missed most of the heavy snow, so they didn't have that last storm in there, so, and then they're. With the trees and timber, they warm up a lot more than we have, so but there's a lot more places for that water to get caught, all the little lakes along the way and they're. For the northern end, but I mean, they're not, this northern tier, they're not really, the tributaries on either side, they're not really forecasting any. Major flooding, it's mostly minor to moderate. It's the tributaries in the southern valley on both sides that they're looking at potential major flooding on those tributaries, which is why the Red River is you know, pretty much on major flooding throughout the whole length of it.
Went to Lake of the Woods last week and to Drayton and stuff, there's a lot less snow out there than there was last year. And I think you're right, when they say the less major flooding is that way, that's part of it. The Lake of the Woods is way down in snow, I was totally surprised.
Yeah.
You know, and even Roseau and all that, it's not there like it was last year, so that'll help.
And then just one question I have, I don't know if you can answer it for me or not, but, we usually post, stuff I post stuff on Facebook but I also post stuff on our website. Which website are we using? We kind of have two of them going, and I really don't want to try to do all the updates on one and then move them all to the other one, or.
Has the other one been advertised to the public?
It hasn't been, my understanding is that eventually it was just supposed to change so that our current address would just take us to the new site.
Right, right.
So if you Google search Walsh County, you go to the old site.
I put it.
So that's what I'm planning to put it, because that's the site that Bristol and I know how to do. I don't know necessarily how to run the new one yet. I mean, we haven't the training, but we haven't really done much with it, so I'm not. But all of that stuff is, you know, so one of the problems is that all of that stuff. I mean, some of that stuff she moved over, so it's also on the JDA site. You know, it's already existing there, it's just, and most of it is just links to the weather service or to NDSU for flood information, so they're not. You know, I mean, like the link to the weather service will take you to the current flooding information, it has, you know, it isn't like we're posting. The one thing is we usually post a link to like the road closed, that. And that should actually work, because it's actually Google based, so it shouldn't matter which map you click on, it should take you still to the same map, so.
I think until we get the new site advertised to the public, they're not even going to realize it's there.
Well, my understanding is that, I mean, we're not gonna actually advertise a new site, it'll just
flow over.
flow
there.
over. Our current,
So if they.
our
Google
current
something-
link will take us to the new site here eventually.
Right. So if
Supposedly.
they try to Google it now and go to our site, they're gonna go to the old site, correct?
Right, but if somebody's Googling and clicks on the Walsh County JDA site, they're gonna see. All of that information is also on that site, it's on both sites. Whatever, because she moved everything over that she could move over,
Okay, I don't know.
so. But if we add or change anything, we're gonna do it to the old site, if that's okay with everybody, or.
Are we waiting for a new JDA director to move that stuff over?
I don't, and I know it's on the department head meeting tomorrow, some stuff about it, so maybe we'll get sorted out who's gonna kind of.
Cause if you put the work in and you're making a new, we should be one, I mean, we have to get to one.
Well, we gotta get to one eventually. but-
I think it's because we didn't have an IT person when
Yeah.
Angela left and it's
Yeah.
kind of on hold, I
It
think.
just kinda got left in limbo here, so,
I know Angela was talking to Ed about it, but I don't know.
yeah, and I know that's got it on the agenda for tomorrow for the department head meeting, so hopefully we'll resolve where we're going with that.
I mean, there's nothing else on the JDA site, I mean, it's called Walsh County JDA, so, right? Isn't it the JDA site?
It's Walsh County JDA, whatever she's got, yeah, it is.
Right, I mean, we could always have a statement on there that says, please go to the.
Yeah, like I said, I gotta look at the information we have on there again, like I said, for flooding, it probably isn't really, like I said, most of ours is just links to information about some pumps and cleaning, and, you know, it isn't specific detail information that only pertains to this particular flood or that. So we're probably fine.
Okay.
So, and then the only other question I had is, without getting in an argument about anything, is that, so in the past with flooding, my practice has normally been to, you know, drive part of the riverbed in the morning and then come river watershed in the morning, and then come to work and spend the day here, because I think somebody should be here during most of the day during the flood. And then I might leave about 3 or 3:30 and drive the other watershed and then go home. But I don't have the vehicle at the moment unless I'm driving to town, getting it, driving back to Adams.
I would think,
Take the picture.
Take the pickup.
I mean, during flooding, absolutely, I would say take the pickup home.
You got a very essential need there, and
Yeah.
it's called for, I would say.
So,
I think that's fine during flooding season, yeah. I guess my question would be is. What happens if you do get flooded and you can't get out of your yard? Do you have accommodations made this year or something so that you can get out, or
well,
I mean,
it
last
depends
time
on
we
the, I mean,
stuck in your yard, right? It's my understanding.
well, yeah, my whole yard was under, I was pumping water out of my house, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of a, you know, normal. And I mean, for as long as I've lived there, I've never had water in my yard. I mean, it might take the roads out, but we can usually drive across it. One place here, you know, might have been a tractor come and drive across it, and we've left vehicles at like the Mennonite church, so we just gotta get across and then,
Right,
and I'm usually out and about, you know, and it's just,
okay.
last year was a extreme event and, you know, and I mean, even if I don't get out immediately, I mean, there is nothing that I'm doing that I wasn't doing for my house. I mean, I had my office phone forwarded to my cell phone. I had my laptop set up. I was reporting everything to the state. I was talking to Jason all the time. You know, and then during the first Monday, I mean, Crystal was in the office. I mean, we communicated, and then after that, I was here until we flooded again. Then I missed it. But mostly the time I wasn't here was on the weekend, and I was, and not that it wasn't, but I mean, it wasn't that, again, my office phone was forwarding to my cell phone. I had my laptop there. Everything I would run in my office, I was running from my house.
So you don't need to go like, to say like when Minto was flooding that, you don't need to physically go there and check things out or?
No, I mean, and a lot of times I do those things.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
it's good
I mean,
for PR, if nothing
Right, I
else.
mean, and it's just like driving the watersheds. I'm not required to do any of that. It's
Right.
just beneficial
you
for
wanna
me
do,
and it's
yeah.
beneficial for, I think, the county, and it's beneficial, but I mean, I can certainly, my role is that if Minto needs sandbags or DOT to come and close something out, to help them make those arrangements.
Arrangements, yeah.
And
Okay.
it's all phone work and computer work. It isn't, I've just learned sometimes it's easier if I'm actually standing there with them than it is to have them have to call me then. But
Right,
that isn't, you know, I can tell you, most of the emergency managers aren't out on all those sites all the time. I mean, they're, you know, if you go to Fargo, he's sitting in the EOC. He isn't running around to every little.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing last year, it happened so quick and I don't remember who did it or what, when they said Matachik's gonna get breached. Well, Minto called me and they come all shook, and I'm sure you got phone calls, and I said, maybe it's our duty to update them a little bit more. And I don't know how you do it, like you said, if you drive there, you can, but last year you couldn't, and that
Well,
was a
and-
concern.
And some of it's, you know, whether anybody's sharing information with us. too.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there's lots of times that I find out things after it's passed through the whole world before anybody bothered to tell me
I
that.
had 4 phone calls and they said, how did you hear? I said, I haven't heard anything about
Yeah.
Matachik, you know, and that's what it's.
That somebody out there called somebody else, I knew who told somebody, and nobody bothered to call the sheriff's office or the highway department or my office or anybody.
And that's the hard thing to do, how do you answer that? 'Cause you
Yeah.
don't even-
Cause I don't even know, I can't let anybody know what I don't know.
Danny, from a perspective, I just would not want to be able to say that my emergency manager couldn't be somewhere if we needed you. Like, I think it is important to have a backup plan. If something were to come up, I don't want to have to say our emergency manager can't get there because he's stuck at home. So I do think that's part of your role, to be able to be available and be out when we are in these kind of extreme conditions, if you will.
And I do too, but I mean, there are circumstances sometimes where that's not. Yeah, I mean,
And the
I could be across the nation and have a tornado hit here and it may take me 2 days to get back. I mean, there's,
but I mean, let's just.
there are things that,
Did this last year and it
I know.
was extreme, so let's be prepared for it this year.
well, and
So
I'm
that
always,
you
I mean,
can
I
get
try
on
to be
it,
prepared. It
yeah.
was-
No, I don't mean be prepared, you can't help if the flood comes, I mean, be prepared to be accessible, physically accessible.
And
You know,
I always try to, like I said, last year caught me off guard as much as anybody. It was not,
Right.
I was not, when I went to bed Saturday night, I did not expect my yard to be full of water
No,
Sunday
I
morning.
understand that, I'm just saying, what if it would happen again this year, do we have time?
Yeah.
Do we have a plan?
In in his defense, I've been here a long time and that's the first time it's happened, but I agree with you guys, we gotta have a plan in case it does happen. Somebody, if you can't get there, somebody else better answer.
Well, but I mean, I mean, Crystal has had all of the emergency management training. She knows how to enter the stuff into the system and she is capable of doing, you know, many of those functions. I mean, you know, I mean, it's, and depending on what functions you need. I mean, we also got Ron and Jason that are here that can go, you know, I mean, a lot of the times it's questions about roads and culverts and sandbags that it might come to me, but I gotta refer to him.
So do the three of you have a plan in place, obviously, then, on how you deal with the flood?
Yeah, we communicate all the time. So, and like I said, we had this meeting this morning. I mean, Ron's reached out to the entities that have airboats to see what's available. I talked about getting the sandbags and trailers moved over here and.
I'm very encouraged by the meetings we've had lately, and I think, we're working well together, so
We have a three-way text message set, so if anything happens, all of us know exactly what's going on. So.
Not to
And
think,
believe me, I want to be out here doing, I mean, that's what I want to be doing. I don't want to be stuck in my yard doing, but. But I mean, when I have water running into my house, I guess I should have some opportunity to try to save my house.
we always say that we're proud that we make it pretty easy for our work to do family things and everything else, and I think your house is part of your family. So, yeah, I get it, so, I was gonna bring up one thing before you forget, and maybe it's sort of stupid. Load limits,
Yeah, I gotta ask about that.
yeah, the roads are softened already, it's unbelievable, and, you know, you can do it on the state.
We do it when the state, last year we did, the state said they were gonna do it, and we put them on,
We got called,
but then DOT never did them. DOT does not agree that there's no frost out there. DOT is looking at, as of last week, they're looking at possibly up to 2 weeks before we put road restrictions on.
Oh,
Getting phone calls from multiple farmers, we're probably at a week. But driving the roads today, I saw water coming up through the middle of asphalt, so I would say
next week.
next week, we're probably gonna be putting road restrictions on, or we told the guys, make sure they have their signs ready. So we're,
You wanna see a horrible road, go just south of Minto and that scale and look to the west. That thing is so beat up already, and it's just a sign of, you know, the water stayed there, the ditches, they can't run off, and traffic on there, and you can't blame the farmers, they're gonna be doing their work, getting the seed in there out or anything else, but it's not gonna be long.
there are extreme amount of township roads that have been around this year that are in the worst condition that I've ever seen, that are main thoroughfares that look like minimal maintenance road.
Yep. Not gonna be pretty.
And it's gonna be extremely ugly for them.
Yeah. How about Nelson County? What do we do with those?
I was gonna try and make the meeting tomorrow, I got that appointment at 9, I'm gonna try to get down there at 8, just to see, I gave them the names of the lawyers and everything, to see if they've done anything, so. I mean, I can't really do nothing, it's their issue.
Yeah, I know.
You know, but I'm trying to push them at it, I said, guys, we gotta get something in plan here. I was gonna call, Perth up there, I'm not gonna make the meeting Wednesday, but I was thinking of going to that Devil's Lake one and do it, but. I think I can talk to him a little more common sense and have Benny at that meeting,
Yeah, Benny.
so, you know. Maybe he can see our light a little bit, and maybe if I rub him a little bit, maybe he'll help us, I don't know. I just started to get him to know him a little bit, and he seems open-minded, so hopefully, being a member of that basin, maybe they'll listen.
Otherwise, that's all I.
Nothing else?
Got no questions for me or burns or.
Godspeed.
Yeah, good luck.
I mean, they-
Good luck.
You didn't move to delay the flooding, so
Yeah.
I have to deal with it as it comes, I guess, so.
I always say above all,
Thanks
stay,
for the update.
stay safe.
Well, snow doing with the grandkids, yesterday, and that snow is rotten, that's just.
Oh, yeah.
sure, who's the one to?
Well, it's getting less than fair, once this was in, I got out, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go scan it all in.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, we'll move on to unfinished business. North Dakota, what is it?
Another, it's just. Being we have new commissioners, I thought we should put this on the agenda for you guys. It's a matter of, normally nobody goes and normally we just allow Nader to vote for us, but. Like I said, because we have new commissioners, I thought you guys might wanna see that.
When is
That's the way you wanna continue to do it, that's what I'll submit, but.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
Sorry.
The Nader,
Annual meeting.
the annual meeting,
Did you give us a copy of that?
that should have been in your packet.
North Dakota what? North Dakota?
Insurance reserve fund.
Generally, we do nothing, none of you guys normally attend, I just tell them to vote for us. But again, there's 2 new commissioners on here, so I thought I would share it with you and make sure that that's the way you want to continue to do things. You would have been part of the first packet, I'm guessing.
Oh, the first packet. Well, I'm looking in the current packet. Okay, gotcha. I'm fine with it if that's what we've always done.
All right,
That's it for me.
Ernie wanted to talk about, Bill?
I guess today I had a lot of calls and concerns and, on that, public money for private schools. So whether you like it or not, I heard they were talking on High Camp and I got on there and I said something to the fact and everybody was talking about what should we do? And I said, you know, I'm a commissioner from Walsh County. And I said, my concerns about this is that I said, if we open up money going to private schools out of public money, what do we do as commissioners when Joe Blow wants his road tarred or gravel and wants to have private money paid for it? And I said, to me, there's no difference between private schools or private money. And then all of a sudden, when I got off, I must have got into, I don't know, I was driving to Langdon and I had 20 guys, people just texting me, great job, this and everything. And one guy I spent a lot of time with was Mike Hansen at the Grafton School. He's really concerned about it. So I just want to let you guys know that they're still talking about this. I don't know which way it's gonna go. I texted, or not texted, email three senators that I know, two from our area and one from Grand Forks, urging them to keep the public money in public schools, and I never got responses. And then Elsie Magnuson, which used to be a commissioner up in Cavalier, she heard it. She texted me about 3 or 4 guys that are on the fence. They don't know which way they're gonna vote in the Senate, so I've got their phone numbers and stuff. If you want, I'll email to them, but I just got a concern, you know. We told Minto how many years ago that if you think we're gonna spend taxpayer dollars on your private road to put that bridge in, forget it. Well, we sent an answer there and it just concerns me because I don't know where this goes to, because you know somebody's gonna say, well, I want my road tried with public money.
Karen, you got any input?
Yeah, and I know you guys aren't gonna like it, but that's my business. I'm not gonna vote everything the way you guys like. First of all, I was asked to put a bill forward like that, and I didn't. There are several constituents in Walsh County that go to non-public schools. And so Ernie, have you read the bill? Or are you up on what's going on with the bill?
Not really. I got caught off guard when some people started calling me, so I looked at the bill and I talked to a couple of my friends I know that got kids going to private school, and they point blank told me they're not concerned. They don't need the money. And usually what's private schools but rich people?
No, no.
Well, they gotta be if they can afford the tuition and everything to go to the private school. They're not cheap. Your normal Joe Blow don't do it. And the concern I had from Mike Hansen, and I talked to him for an hour. And he was
I've
concerned.
talked to Mike too, Ernie.
Well, and he was sort of disappointed that what your thoughts, and I'll be honest, I said, you know, I just got a concern because he was, again, think it forward. Is this gonna go into homeschooling? His
Nope.
concern is, well, you could say no, but in 2 years, all of a sudden it's gonna grow. His concern is there's people that already are doing it, that are the private schools gonna take care of the needy kids? They don't have the paras and the legals and everything to do it apparently. So guess what? All of a sudden, these two of my kids, I've got 3 kids, I'll send them to the private school, and my kid that needs help, I'll send him to Grafton because they got the facilities to help my needy kid. That, I got a problem.
Yeah,
So, and I'm just voicing what he said.
yeah,
And I
How
just,
about
I value what my educators think. I mean.
I do
I'm
too, but I
afraid,
have
and nobody said there's
constituents that have asked me to support this. And I know that not everybody likes it, but I cannot, like I said, I can't always vote that way. When we had our meeting 2 weeks ago, we had only 2 people that did not support that. Otherwise, everybody else was fine with having parents have a choice to where they wanted their kids. The bill has now been stripped down to $10 million from the general fund. No money will be taken away from schools. No school in any district will be receiving less money. So so they are actually keeping money for kids that aren't going to school. Anybody who wants to get this will have to apply for it. It doesn't automatically get to them, and they will have to have a means test, like whether they, you know, whether they can, you know, whether they can get it or not, meaning whatever their income is. So there's a lot of different things about it. I can send you some information. But yeah, I'm voting with some constituents that wanted me to do it. And that's part of being a legislator. Even if everybody doesn't like a bill, that's just how I'm gonna vote. So.
So, go ahead.
Can I just ask if the money is not going to come out of the public schools? You said the public schools would still get the same amount of money they've always
Yes.
got. It's not going to impact them. Where would this 10 million come from?
Then it would come out of the general fund.
Just out of the general fund, okay?
Yeah, and the schools will be getting a 25% increase from, that will go to them, that will then not be taken out of property tax. So there will be a property tax relief for all of us. So it's not like, no money will be taken away from any public schools because of this bill. It will then be a study, and it's just for the next biennium.
Why do they feel they need that assistance in the first place?
Well, every kid that goes to school gets over $10,000. And yes, I realize that they are choosing to go to a different school, but people pay taxes that go into the general fund too, so.
But
And
it's
to
also
give-
their choice to attend private school.
Right,
So Karen, answer my question when somebody calls and wants me to pay public money on their private road. And he said, well, you're doing it for the school.
that's getting way out there, way out there.
And there are people that are gonna do it. So that
No, they
10.5
aren't.
million you said is going to the general fund. Is that why they added more to the bucket in front of the prairie dog? And it says right on that one bucket, it's for general
No,
fund.
now you're
funding.
going off into some other thing that has nothing to do with it.
Well, it
So-
seems like it's connected.
And you know, let me tell you this. You guys have to call me and let me know what you think about these bills, not a day before it's voted on or anything like that, or come down here. I mean, I have gotten no emails from any of you guys on any of the bills on how to vote, except for Alan. So
Well,
I don't know
I'm-
what you guys think.
You know
But
what we
I'm
sort
not
of
going
pick up.
to, I'm not going to put my constituents that have asked me to put a bill in, even though I didn't put that bill in, and throw them under the bus. It's like any other bill that somebody asks me to put in. So it'd be like if you guys asked me to put a bill in, and then all of a sudden, I'm not gonna vote for it.
Karen, will you email me? This is Amy, some more on that bill? I'd
Yeah,
love to
yep, I've got a,
Just, I'm just trying to get a place there too, like, what are some private schools in in our area? Like, would Nash have been a
No.
private school?
no, Grand Forks.
Okay.
Shanley, Shiloh, Christian,
Okay,
Bismarck.
so there isn't any like really right in Walsh or.
No, it should affect us one bit, really.
Grand Forks, but
Okay.
I know of 7 kids that are going to that school. So that have asked me. I'm not gonna throw them under the bus, so
Why
I
won't
know
they,
people don't agree with it, but,
why won't they attend public school?
well, that's their business. I'm
Well,
not, gonna, you know,
I will tell you as a parent with multiple children in school, I can understand to a degree, because some of the things that I see that are going on in our schools now, if I had options, I would potentially, it's
very
easier
much so.
kids in school.
So in a way, it's gonna affect our public schools, cause if everybody thought like that and sent it to private schools, our schools get so much money per kid. Now we lose 10 of them, we've lost that amount of money.
I think there is.
No,
a-
that's, unless this bill goes forward, Ernie, that money is staying there.
Well, I hope it's a guarantee, because that's what
Well, it
scares me.
is, it is, so,
Any other bills you want?
No, that was the only one, because I had a lot of people calling me today and stuff, and I was just wondering. I didn't ask for it, they called me.
Well, it's, any other discussion on that, Karen?
no, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Rehired extension office, you want to bring that up?
Yes, I had a phone call actually today from Leslie Lubinow from the extension, and she just wanted to, I think it's just to go through the right process to looking to do the rehiring for Brad's position for the extension side of it. And wondering if the commission is willing to partner again to fill that position, so I wanted to bring it. I don't know what we need to do that, or,
I don't know, we're partners already, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Don't they kind of run the show on the hiring or?
But they ask us if
We're partnered with them.
Right,
We pay a percentage of the wages.
right, yeah, I realize
she
that.
just said before she takes the next step, I think it's probably more of a formality, but I just.
Tell her she's got her
Yeah,
support.
absolutely.
Well, yeah, it was voted on, wasn't it, or?
Yeah, I don't, yeah. We've always supported them. So.
I recall her.
Interim auditor?
Well, I think we need to get a plan in place. Chris, have you changed your mind? Still going April 28th? Okay.
Oh,
So anyways, our application period for the administrator position, which will take over auditor duties as well, closes on April 14th. Best case scenario, we have interviews the week after, but even then, if somebody has to give, it's gonna take, say, 2 weeks for interviews, I would think. This could be a round 2 of interviews with a position this big. And then if you hire somebody that's already working, you've got a current employee who has to give a 2-week notice at least to their job. So we're looking at a month, probably. You know, and then what if we don't get a successful applicant? We might have to re-advertise. You could be looking at even longer before we fill the position. So I just feel like we need to get a plan in place here on how we're going to handle this after Chris retires. And, you know, Chris, we talked about, you said there was several of the duties that you felt Sandra and Angie could take on. And then you were gonna provide us with a list of duties that you felt they wouldn't be able to complete. I don't know if you've gotten that list together or.
No, with Sandra being gone and the training with Tyler that's been going on, yeah. I haven't gotten to show them as much as I would have liked to have either, but. I will
Okay.
work on that.
Is there I guess I think for when you took the job over, Sharon was sort of available for questions and everything else. Are you willing to still do that if we run into trouble?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's amazing. If we have a snag, if we don't have somebody, you know, and I agree with you, we gotta think forward on this.
Association of Counties help us in with that?
I talked to Aaron Burst today, at the Association of Counties, and he said, boy, that's gonna be a tough one, but he said he'll put the word out. I asked if he knew if there was any retired auditors who would maybe be willing to come fill in for a period of time, even to maybe help do some training, you know, even after you hire someone, it'd be nice to have someone here to help with that. He said he will put the word out. He said there was a retired auditor in Trail County that she is doing some work for the state, I believe, Linda.
Linda Svohovic.
No, Linda Letter.
Letter
Better.
yeah,
Letter. I mean, he was gonna check with her to see if she'd be willing. I asked him, you know, if you can ever get an auditor from another county. I understand they have their own county to take care of, but do you ever kind of share? Maybe have another auditor come over here a couple days a week just to kind of make sure everything's under control and the flow is going right. He said that's kind of more of I'll help you out on Neighboring County if you can get them to do that, but. So he said, I'm gonna put some feelers out there, he's gonna check it out and see if we can possibly get some help, so. I guess unless you guys have some other ideas, that's the only thing I can really come up with. You need somebody that can kind of hit the ground running, that can come in and understand our software, you know, yeah, we could contact a CPA. It's tax season, it's terrible season, but even if they come in, they're not gonna really hit the ground running, they don't, it's such a huge learning curve that I just don't feel that would be feasible.
Did you talk to Ed to see if he can help us with some of that? Cause he's on that Tyler and all that stuff. He's pretty sharp, isn't he?
Ed Sivany?
Yeah. No, but I mean, what's going on in the process? I'm not
He
saying
knows
that.
nothing about what goes on in our office.
No, but I mean, if we run into a snag to contact somebody or whatever, cause if you don't, and it's new to us, who do we get a hold of? That's what I'm thinking. I mean,
I feel our best bet would be is if we could find a retired or an auditor that would come over and help us, it's familiar, but Chris, do you have any suggestions? And the thing with that, it's tax season, right? I mean, it's kind of his busy season too, so.
And he'll be in the fields before you know it.
Right, yeah, but I was looking for some, maybe know somebody, to me, I agree, we need somebody intern that knows what they're doing. But where?
You're not into budgets yet, you're not into any critical period. I mean, if Sherry and Angie can take care of the end of the month stuff, and they can stay on top of the day-to-day stuff, I think they'll be fine.
Who replaces you for this role, like for meetings and such, is that Sandra or?
Yeah, it should be Sandra, she's done it before, it would be hard for Angie to come in and do it, I think. But Sandra has sat in before.
Angie getting comfortable with everything?
She's just been thrown into a lot.
Yeah.
But she's doing well.
She's handling
Mhm.
We have, how many more I just am saying, like you said, Sandra's been gone a little bit, is it something Angie should be here maybe for next meeting? Possibly at least, just to get exposed in case.
Well, you can ask her, but it's a nighttime meeting, it's comp time, it's.
Cause before you're done, we have 2 meetings.
One.
Next week and we're done. It's all sneaking up on us.
Right, so we need a plan in place, so I guess that's what I'm wondering, what's the plan?
See if you can get somebody in here to help us. Otherwise, what do we do?
Is Sandra going to step up and? I mean, do you feel Sandra's going to step up and take on your position in the interim? That's typically what would happen, correct? That's what's expected of a deputy auditor, is a deputy auditor needs to step up and take it on. Is that going to happen?
Well.
Has she been asked? Have we talked to her
No,
about it?
well, I haven't.
Okay,
And again, they were in a week's worth of training, her mom was in the hospital again, it's just been very hectic, so.
yeah, and that's my concern with that continuing situation, she may not be here. When we need her. But I mean, we don't know that.
Yeah.
A lot of unanswered questions.
Well, I guess my thought is.
Mr. Chairman,
Be a difficult position to fill, and I'm not holding high hopes that it will be filled timely,
No, I agree. There's gonna be at least a month of that.
And we
at
gotta
least,
be careful so we make the right decision.
right? And then you're bringing somebody in with, I mean,
Totally
will they
new.
have training, will they not have
Yep.
training, you know?
Karen, you had something?
yeah, I agree with Christie. I think we need our deputy auditor to step up. I guess I think that is part of her job, and we should at least talk to her about it and make sure things are done.
So do you guys want me to quit trying to find someone to come in and
No.
I would keep looking
keep
just in
looking?
case.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep trying, but I don't know how far we're gonna get, but
Dylan, avenue we have is
Right,
Aaron Burge, really, I mean,
There aren't any. I would say Ramsey's probably the closest county with Dakota programs. There aren't a lot of people.
and that doesn't have it.
Here
Nelson.
doesn't. Grand Forks doesn't.
You know, we're right in the midst of this software transition, so.
And that's. A lot of work also. Maybe. A week worth of training and your office doesn't get anything else hardly done, so.
For Sandra, I mean, is one of us to talk to her, or what
Well, that's
is?
her portfolio. That's why she's asking.
I thought maybe you and Sandra would have had a conversation about it. I mean, it's just known, right, that a deputy auditor, she should be prepared for
yeah,
this.
absolutely.
You know, it's not, but I can certainly talk to her. Or I can talk to her with you. Whichever you wanna do, but it's known because. I still think the best would be is if we can get somebody to come in that is an actual auditor, retired, maybe still working, come in for a couple days a week, whatever. I think just to kind of have some
You wanna look
direction,
at everything.
but. Sandra's gonna have to be the go-to person for most of the information, I would assume. But I don't have the list of duties that she doesn't know how to do, and you just said you haven't had a lot of time to show Sandra and Angie, so I'm kind of hanging here
Yeah.
in a cloud, not knowing really what we have coming
I've
out.
made, so with my end of the month stuff, I've made lots of copies of. Where things come from, where I get the information, where to look for it. I haven't shared it with anyone yet because of. Sandra's not here and Angie's, yeah.
When
but
will Sandra be
I,
back?
Monday, I believe.
This Monday? Okay.
Monday, yeah.
Or
I think that's.
a week from today,
That's gotta be top for her priority when she comes back.
right, absolutely.
We need some direction.
A week from today.
17,
No?
just before our next meeting.
So that would be 10 work days. Until you retire.
After that.
Including the 17th and her last day of retirement, which is a pretty tough day to focus and get a lot done. So we're probably looking at, pardon? Yeah, probably looking at 8 work days, I mean. Okay. Well, let's visit with Sandra as soon as she gets back. And I'll keep working on seeing if there is anybody out there. I think if there is, I think it would be money well spent. If we had to hire somebody for
Yeah.
interim.
Well, you always worry about money, but when she retires, we're not paying her, so we can have some money to hire somebody to help us. The worst thing that can happen is this thing get out of hand on us.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a central hub of the county, and we sure need to have it flow.
I agree. That's all I got.
Any more good news?
Well, we can have some more, you and I can have some more conversations tomorrow after
Sure,
the department head meeting.
perfect.
Thanks, Christy.
Yeah, you bet.
All right.
We got Canadian cleared before the next meeting.
Yeah, when was that? That was 18th.
For the same time, just the next meeting, right?
It's 4 o'clock, isn't it?
4 o'clock
On the 18th.
18th, yeah. So you remember to do that one. It's been pushed back twice already, so.
Put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
again.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say, I have a note here that, the self-help group, when Porterville sent in their stuff, she sent a little note saying that Porterville really appreciates.
That is so good to hear.
Nice.
That is so good to hear.
Nice.
It ain't much, but every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd share that with you.
There's a ways in Fairdale. That's how we can go a little ways in a small town like Fairdale. The money they get.
I don't understand why some of the other communities didn't.
Yeah, you wonder why.
Yeah, you think everybody would apply?
You think so?
Yeah.
Use it for something.
Anything else? What we're doing.
Yeah.
We'll do, there's jerky and pepper sticks if anybody wants them.
You treat us well.
Well, I know what it's like, you guys drive a lot, you don't get to eat, or,
Did you, is that the-
huh?
Meeting adjourned, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get mad at me, cause you missed baloney